Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Naruto. I, Minato Namikaze, dominate the ninja world. Chapter 1. Where the hell am I? How did I end up in the desert? Am I dead? Suddenly, his body trembled, and it took him a while to realize that he had traveled through time, and he had traveled to the body of the dead Minato Namikaze. Now he was still in the belly of the god of death. He replaced the original Minato Namikaze, and of course merged with Minato Namikaze's soul, and also gained Minato Namikaze's power and memory. For example, Sage Mode, A-Level Ninjutsu Rasengan, and Flying Thunder God. At this time, Minato Namikaze remembered the Golden Finger system that was essential for travelers. Minato Namikaze silently said in his heart, "System." Sure enough, not long after, an electronic mechanical sound sounded in Minato Namikaze's mind. Ding, this system is a sign-in system. The host can sign in at various places to get rewards, or sign in on people to get their abilities, chakra attributes, or ninjutsu, chakra doubling, blood limit, etc. This is not the most powerful part of the system. The electronic synthesized sound of the system turned into a beautiful girl's voice, and a girl with long blue hair down to her waist and tied into twin ponytails appeared in front of Minato Namikaze. The girl saw the shock in Minato Namikaze's eyes, and a hint of pride flashed in the depths of her eyes. She was very satisfied with Minato's reaction. Then he turned around and said proudly, "For example, if you sign in at a place, this system has a chance to get a critical hit reward." Hearing this, Minato Namikaze suppressed his joy and asked, "What critical hit reward?" The system nodded and said, "It is a reward for things from other worlds, such as Strange Fire, Martial Arts, King Fist, and Ultra Instinct." Minato Namikaze looked at the system, a complex look flashed in his eyes, and asked, "System, how can your function be so powerful?" The system elf nodded proudly after hearing Minato Namikaze's words. Said to Minato Namikaze, "Our system is divided into the trainee system and the primary system. Then there is the first level system, the second level system, the third level system, the fourth level system and the fifth level system. I don't know how much higher it is, I am now in the third level system." Minato Namikaze nodded slightly and continued, "Those who want to wipe out the host at any time, what level of system is it?" The system waved its hand and said, "The trainee system or the primary system stage." By the way, does the system have a novice gift package? Minato Namikaze suddenly asked. The system rolled its eyes at Minato Namikaze. Ding, congratulations to the host for getting the novice gift package, do you want to open it? The system's voice sounded. Minato said silently in his heart, "Open it." Congratulations to the host for getting the captain level spiritual pressure. The system's voice sounded again. Minato Namikaze was overjoyed when he heard the words, and then he felt a strong force surging into his body. This is a strange power different from chakra, which is much stronger than chakra. Then Minato Namikaze looked at the long sword again. At this time, the system voice sounded, "Congratulations to the host for obtaining the oldest, hot-type Zanpakuto-style Jinjaka in the world of Death God." Minato Namikaze was stunned when he heard the introduction of the system. Is this going to make him the god of death in the world of Naruto? Congratulations to the host for obtaining Zankenzo. The system voice sounded again. Minato Namikaze was overjoyed when he heard this, "It's really what I want." A huge amount of knowledge was transmitted into Minato Namikaze's mind, and the Death God's White Fight and Instant Step were all learned in this moment. Minato recovered from his joy and asked, "System, I remember that the Zankenzo ghost in the world of Death God is still missing a ghost way." The system ignored Minato Namikaze's inquiry and chose to continue to play dead. Seeing this, Namikaze Minato looked outside with a helpless look on his face. This is the spirit world where only souls exist. Besides, he doesn't know how to use ghost ways here. System, how do you get me out of the spirit world and let me return to the ninja world? Minato said to the system unhappily. System spirit, if you have anything, please leave a message. This system is busy and has been offline. Namikaze Minato saw this and his head was full of black lines. He complained about the system in his heart. You were so awesome just now. I thought you were a great god. I didn't expect you to be a rookie. Fortunately, although the system spirit is unreliable, the system's functions are still there. As long as you sign in, you can get rewards and rewards from other worlds. On the other side, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the two coffins summoned by Orochimaru. Sarutobi Hiruzen thought to himself, not good, we must not let the third coffin come out. Stop it immediately. Konoha village Chunin exam looking at Orochimaru on the rooftop, staring at him from a distance. Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart was very complicated. This was his most outstanding disciple. He looked at the two figures beside Orochimaru and his face was solemn. Because the two people beside Orochimaru were the first generation Hokage Senju Hashirama and the second generation Hokage Senju Tobirama. Even if the person who was resurrected by the impure world reincarnation only retained 20% of his strength in his lifetime, he was not able to deal with him. What's more, there was a coffin with a mark of 4. If nothing unexpected happened, it should be Minato. Using his own strength to deal with 3 cage-level strongmen was not something he could accept. So Sarutobi Hiruzen quickly formed seals with both hands and began to block it. The Shuriken Shadow Clone Technique. Countless shurikens flew towards the coffin where Namikaze Minato was, trying to use its power to seal it. Sarutobi Hiruzen saw that all his shurikens were firmly nailed to the coffin, and he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. According to this posture, he should not be able to get out. Just when Sarutobi Hiruzen felt that the third coffin would not come out, Orochimaru also felt that it was no big deal to lose one person, as long as it did not affect his plan. Orochimaru did not care much. Suddenly, the third coffin seemed to be possessed by a demon. The coffin that was originally suppressed in the soil by Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly rose slowly from the soil. Orochimaru and Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the coffin that suddenly rose from the soil with doubts in their hearts. With a bang, the coffin lid flew several meters away and stopped when it hit the barrier not far away. Only a voice came, "Is this your good idea to let me get out of the impure world reincarnation?" Minato's somewhat lazy voice sounded from the coffin, as if there was a lot of dissatisfaction to vent, and this voice immediately attracted the attention of many people. This voice is Hiruzen. Sarutobi was shocked when he heard the voice. He looked into the coffin in disbelief and saw a young man with golden hair, wearing a Hokage robe. He was about 20 years old and very handsome. Orochimaru also looked into the coffin. His heart was full of shock, and he couldn't help muttering to himself, "What's going on?" The person he summoned should be the 4th Hokage Rasa, who was killed by him, not the 4th Hokage Minato Namikaze in front of him. Kakashi, who was responsible for dealing with the sand ninja outside the field, looked serious. Suddenly, the 3 Magatama Sharingan in his eyes looked up. Kakashi, who felt the breath of Minato Namikaze, was excited. This chakra breath is the teacher. Minato Namikaze, 4th Hokage, Minato. Although everyone called different names, without exception, they all called the person in the coffin. Minato then came out and stretched his stiff body. To be honest, this feeling of being summoned was really not good. When Sarutobi Hiruzen saw this and saw Minato Namikaze coming out, he said with a gloomy face, "You are playing with the soul of the dead." When he said this, he deliberately glanced at Minato Namikaze, and the meaning was self-evident. Orochimaru ignored Sarutobi Hiruzen's question, but looked at Minato Namikaze with a confused face. "Why is it you?" Orochimaru said with a confused face. Orochimaru's words made Sarutobi Hiruzen very confused. What does this mean? Didn't Orochimaru's impure world reincarnation be Minato at the beginning? Although Sarutobi Hiruzen did not learn the method of impure world reincarnation, he had read it in the Book of Seals. The caster needs to use the body of the dead or part of the flesh and blood as the basis, and then use the living as a sacrifice. Use the body of a living person to summon the soul of the dead from the Pure Land, and attach it to it, and cover the appearance and body of the living person with dust, so as to transform into the appearance of the dead before his death. However, since the other party has brought Minato Namikaze to the impure world reincarnation, it proves that Orochimaru naturally has the flesh and blood of Minato Namikaze in his hands. Why does it feel that there is something wrong with the conversation between the two when they just summoned him? Orochimaru saw Minato Namikaze's expression as if he had seen a ghost. But Sarutobi Hiruzen did not doubt it. After all, it was written as the 4th generation. The 1st generation Hokage and the 2nd generation Hokage have both come out, so it is normal for the 4th generation Hokage to come out. Sarutobi Hiruzen found a suitable reason to convince himself. Minato Namikaze saw Orochimaru's doubts and smiled like the sun on his face and said, "Of course I was summoned by you, Orochimaru. In this ninja world, who else has such a great ability to summon the first-generation Hokage and the second-generation Hokage at the same time?" Minato thought in his heart. To be honest, besides Orochimaru, there is really one, Kabuto Yakushi, one of the bosses of the Fourth Ninja World War. Besides, the first Hokage and the second Hokage have both appeared. It would be embarrassing for me, the fourth Hokage, not to come out. Minato Namikaze looked at Orochimaru sincerely and said. Minato Namikaze's smile was very contagious, but it failed to convince Orochimaru. Orochimaru retorted, "Impossible, that was clearly the fourth Hokage." He was halfway through his words when he flew backwards. Looking back at where he was standing, Minato Namikaze was already standing where he was standing. Too fast, and the force is too terrifying. I clearly blocked it just now. But I was still blown away by the huge force. Minato Namikaze has become stronger after returning from hell this time. A drop of cold sweat dripped from Orochimaru's forehead, and his pair of golden vertical pupils stared at Minato Namikaze in front of him. Just now, he was only talking for a while, and the other party took advantage of the opportunity. He almost didn't see the figure just now. If it weren't for the physical reaction that he had trained in the deep mountains and seas of blood for many years, he would have been seriously injured if not killed under the attack just now. Orochimaru wiped the cold sweat from his forehead, and a ferocious smile appeared on his pale and sickly face. A hoarse voice sounded from his mouth. "It's worthy of being the Golden Flash. Even without the Flying Thunder God technique, its own speed is amazingly fast." Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was lost in thought, guessed that it was not Minato that Orochimaru wanted to reincarnate, but someone else. Although he didn't know why it was Namikaze Minato who came out, it was a good thing for him. At this time, Sarutobi Hiruzen shouted at Namikaze Minato, "Minato, come and deal with Orochimaru with me." Minato looked at the so-called strongest Hokage and didn't say anything. Instead, he looked down at his current body and said, "My current body is really too bad." He looked at his hands again. When he did it just now, he didn't feel any touch or impact. The force he used just now was great and the speed was very fast. Even a veteran cage-level strongman like Orochimaru was knocked out by his blow. Although the force was great, Minato still didn't feel anything. He didn't feel the reality of his punches. He felt very uncomfortable with his body. He didn't feel any physical contact when he attacked. There was no pain and no recoil. Such a body made Namikaze Minato very uncomfortable. It honestly felt weird. But at least I'm still alive, right? Besides, I still have the golden finger of the system, right? Minato comforted himself in his heart. This system is really unreliable. It actually resurrected me in this way. If it wasn't me, the fourth Kazekage Rasa would be standing here now. It actually took advantage of Orochimaru's impure world reincarnation to let me replace the original fourth Kazekage. Luo Sha, this system is really ingenious. Minato thought to himself again. This system is really not reliable at all. If I wasn't strong enough and hadn't integrated the captain's spiritual pressure, I would probably not be able to get out just now. Minato kept thinking in his heart. As for the third Hokage, Minato ignored him. Although he had merged Minato's memories, he was no longer the original Minato who cared about Konoha village wholeheartedly. And as a time traveler, I know what kind of life Naruto lived in the original plot, drinking expired milk and eating bread thrown away by others. Even ordinary villagers in the village insulted Naruto as a demon fox. Sarutobi Hiruzen and Kushina sealed the 9 tails to protect Konoha village. I asked you to take care of Naruto, but you took care of him like this. What about the house left by Kushina and me? And what about the rewards for so many A-level tasks done over the years? They were all embezzled by you, old man. I feel angry just thinking about it." Quote. Besides, there is nothing wrong with what Orochimaru said. The Konoha high-level guys have become greedy for life and afraid of death, distorting the true meaning of the will of fire. The original intention of the will of fire was, where the leaves of Konoha fly, the fire will continue to grow. The flames will illuminate the entire village and let the new leaves sprout. The original meaning of this sentence is, young people are the hope of the future, and the older generation must trust and protect them. The sacrifice of the older generation is not meaningless, but will inspire young people to become the pillars of the future. The flames of the fallen leaves are a metaphor for the heroic sacrifice of the older generation, and the new leaves are a metaphor for the young people. But Sarutobi Hiruzen and others misinterpreted the true meaning of the will of fire and turned it into a tool to brainwash others. The most famous one is Uchiha Itachi, who was completely brainwashed into a beast who killed his father and mother. Even his own cheap son was brainwashed into a middle school boy who shouted the slogan, "I want to become Hokage," all day long. Looking at Orochimaru, who was staring at him intently, she showed him a sunny smile, and in the blink of an eye she was next to Orochimaru and whispered in his ear, "Don't worry, Orochimaru, I won't stop you." Then, in the shocked eyes of Orochimaru, he returned to his original position, and Orochimaru came back to his senses in shock. A smile appeared on his pale and sickly face, and his scarlet tongue licked the Kusanagi sword in his hand in an incredible way. A hoarse voice sounded, "Haha. It's really you, Minato." Minato smiled, but did not answer Orochimaru's words, but communicated with the system with his mind. "System, you let me revive in this way, don't you have any other compensation? I traveled to the Pure Land, and when I came out in the way of impure world reincarnation. This experience is a bit too miserable, so I have to give compensation anyway." Ding! Due to the error of the system, the host's travel error occurred, the host's body was restored, and the control of impure world reincarnation was released at the same time. The mechanical voice of the system slowly sounded in Minato's mind. After listening to the system's story, Minato was stunned. "That's all the compensation. I've already obtained the spiritual pressure of the god of death, and I can also cancel the impure world reincarnation, but I can still restore my body." Minato thought to himself. The system was silent for a long time. Ding! "Do you want to sign in with Sarutobi Hiruzen?" Minato smiled and said silently, "Sign in." As Minato's voice fell, the mechanical sound of the system sounded again. Ding! Signed in successfully and obtained the 5 elements great linking bullet technique. Ding! Did the host sign in with Orochimaru? Minato said silently, "Sign in." Ding! Signed in successfully. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Orochimaru substitute technique. The system's voice came again. Minato was stunned at first, then smiled helplessly. This ninjutsu is Orochimaru's signature ninjutsu. After receiving a fatal attack, his body will be split into countless small snakes, and his body will crawl out of the mouth of the small snake. However, the body that crawls out will enter a weak period, because the use of the snake-style substitution technique will consume a lot of chakra, but this ninjutsu is useless to Minato after all. Not to mention that Minato's current strength is second to none in the ninja world, even the 9-tailed fox is just a more troublesome pet for Minato now. If the 6-path sage does not come out, the god of ninja and the Shira of the ninja world are dead. Minato can dominate the ninja world with ninjutsu and the flying thunder god technique. Not to mention that he is still an enhanced version of Minato Namikaze, and he also has spiritual pressure and the strongest heat-type Zanpakuto-style Renjaka. Minato. Quote, Hiruzen Sarutobi looked at Minato Namikaze with a strange expression. For some reason, he felt that Minato Namikaze was a little strange and a little wrong. But he didn't have time to think about it. He turned his head and looked at the 2 coffins on the side. The 2 people who appeared in them were the first-generation Hokage Senju Hashirama and the second-generation Hokage Senju Tobarama. After Senju Hashirama came out, he touched the back of his head with one hand when he saw Sarutobi Hiruzen, and greeted Sarutobi Hiruzen with a smile. "Long time no see, monkey." Tobarama Senju on the side was the first to react and asked, "What's going on? How did Konoha become like this?" Before Sarutobi Hiruzen answered the two who walked out of the coffin looked at Minato Namikaze. "Who is this?" "The 4th-generation Hokage Namikaze Minato," Sarutobi Hiruzen answered on the side. "The 4th-generation Hokage. It's the same as us. They are all reincarnated bodies." Senju Hashirama. Looking at the cracks on Minato Namikaze's body, he also understood what was going on. Senju Tobarama took the lead and said, "We were used by others to be resurrected this time. They used the impure world reincarnation to resurrect us, then controlled us, and used our power to destroy Konoha village." Senju Hashirama on the side said. So such ninjutsu should not be developed. Senju Tobarama snorted coldly and said, but it is necessary to exist. Minato ignored the time of the three Hokage reminiscing about the past, but calmed his body and mind and observed the changes in his body first. After just a while, Minato found that his impure world reincarnation body was changing into a physical body. In a few breaths, Minato Namikaze felt his heartbeat. Minato felt his resurrection and took a deep breath and said, "It feels good this way." But the changes in Minato Namikaze were seen by Senju Hashirama on the side. "Wahahaha, this is amazing." Quote, after Senju Hashirama noticed the changes in Minato, his eyes became brighter and brighter, and he couldn't help but shout out in excitement. Senju Tobarama, who was standing by, looked at his elder brother who was screaming like crazy, and felt a headache. He couldn't help but remind him. "Brother, pay attention." Ahem. Being Senju after Tobarama reminded him, Hashirama Senju suppressed his excitement and coughed slightly to ease his embarrassment. Then he looked at Minato Namikaze and said, "It's really amazing. He can twist his body forcibly. What an amazing power." Seeing this, Tobarama Senju also exclaimed with amazement, "This power has surpassed, it must be the impure world reincarnation." With their current strength, they can't get rid of the control of the impure world reincarnation at all, because Orochimaru is afraid that the reincarnated first-generation Hokage Hashirama Senju and the second-generation Hokage Tobarama Senju are too powerful. It's hard to control, so the sacrifices they use are also relatively poor, so the strength they exert is less than 2/10 of their peak state, so their strength is curbed. At this moment, Tobarama Senju, who was thinking, suddenly raised his head with a pair of sharp eyes, stared at Minato Namikaze and Hiruzen Sarutobi and said slowly, "A genius of Konoha, but why did he die like us?" Looking at Hiruzen Sarutobi standing opposite, he felt more and more strange. Minato Namikaze had just escaped from the impure world reincarnation and recovered his physical body. Moreover, the other party was the fourth Hokage of Konoha. He firmly believed that Minato was definitely a genius among geniuses. But why did such a genius die after becoming Hokage, and the third Hokage regained power? Is there any conspiracy or is it intentional by the monkey? What is that? Some people with sharp eyes first saw the figures of Minato and others. What a joke, the Shodaime Hokage, the Nadaime Hokage and the Yondaime Hokage. How can this be played? How can the third Hokage win under such circumstances? Konoha will not be destroyed. It is exactly the same as the statue on the Hokage rock. It is really quite handsome. The Yondaime Hokage. A group of Ambu ninjas and civilian ninjas outside the rooftop barrier noticed the situation here and couldn't help but discuss it. At this time, a young man with white hair and a square face with a watermelon head came to the side of the barrier. After seeing Minato, Kakashi couldn't help but say, "It's really the teacher." Might Guy on the side said excitedly, "Kakashi, did you see it? Inside the barrier are the Shodaime Hokage, the second Hokage and the fourth Hokage." The sound outside the barrier attracted the attention of Minato Namikaze, Hiruzen Sarutobi, Orochimaru and others. Minato Namikaze turned his head and looked outside the barrier, and recognized many people. Isn't the masked Kaze brother his disciple Hatake Wuukai? That green-skinned might guy with a watermelon head wearing a tights, and his former bodyguard Shiranui Genma. The only change is that his temperament is darker than before, which may be due to the ruling of the third-generation Hokage. He smiled at everyone with a sunny smile. Wow, the first-generation Hokage is so domineering. With his eyes, I feel like I am being stared at by the nine-tailed fox. A civilian ninja said. Nine-tailed fox, are you polite? Don't talk nonsense. I think the first Hokage is very funny, just like a funny guy. The fourth Hokage is so handsome. He just smiled at me. I want to give birth to a monkey for him. The woman next to him was also unconvinced and said, he smiled at me. Just like that, the friendship between the two was overturned. As the culprit, Minato Namikaze, was still unaware of it. Even if he knew, he would just laugh it off. After all, as a fan of online literature in his previous life, he read a lot of novels and animations and knew the importance of strength. As for feelings, how far will feelings be if he has strength? The teacher is still the same and hasn't changed at all. Kakashi sighed as he looked at Minato in the barrier. The Ambu ninjas and the civilian ninjas of Konoha were glanced at by the Hokage, and their reactions were different. But this is not a one-man show. Minato looked at Orochimaru and said to Sarutobi Hiruzen beside him. Because Orochimaru had already walked behind the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, and the second Hokage, Tobirama Senju, and stabbed the kunai with amulets into the bodies of the two Hokages. Then Hashirama Senju and Tobirama Senju retreated to the side of Orochimaru. Orochimaru took the lead and said, "Teacher Sarutobi, let's stop talking about the past. It's almost time to start. Teacher Sarutobi hopes you can hold on," Orochimaru said to Fate Hiruzen sinisterly. Then he turned to look at Minato Namikaze and said, "Please don't interfere." Minato began to be a little interested and teased Orochimaru. "Why, I am the fourth Hokage of Konoha." Orochimaru was very angry when he heard this, but he still said to Minato Namikaze, "The current Konoha is no longer the Konoha of the past. You don't know your son yet. Now he is being controlled by those stupid people in Konoha village." Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart sank and he quickly stopped Orochimaru and said, "Shut up, you guy." Turning to Minato, he said, "Don't listen to Orochimaru's nonsense." Minato silently glanced at Sarutobi Hiruzen when he heard this. Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart sank when he was looked at by Minato Namikaze. Minato saw the two fighting each other, and sneered in his heart and said, "I don't need you to tell me, because I have seen the current Konoha. It is no longer the Konoha of the past, it has decayed." "What?" Sarutobi Hiruzen was stunned. "What does Minato mean?" Orochimaru was a little surprised when he heard it. Minato Namikaze had been dead for so many years, could he still know anything? Orochimaru felt that Minato Namikaze gave him a feeling that he was not only stronger than he was more than a decade ago, but also more mysterious. When everyone was talking, he also discovered the changes in Minato Namikaze. Minato Namikaze actually broke free from the body of the impure world reincarnation and restored his physical body. Minato looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen and said slowly, "Third Hokage, you are not young anymore." Hiruzen Sarutobi's heart sank when he heard this and looked at Minato and said, "What do you mean by this?" Minato ignored Sarutobi Hiruzen's question and continued. "Where the leaves are flying, the fire will also continue. The flames will illuminate the entire village and make the new leaves sprout. This is the will of fire that you have been thinking about. Third Hokage, you should have a deep understanding of this," Minato said to Sarutobi Hiruzen with some disappointment. "Minato, what do you mean by this?" Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Minato Namikaze with cold eyes. Hearing this, Minato sneered, "Third generation master, don't speak in a roundabout way. You know what I mean." Orochimaru stood aside with his arms crossed, looking at Minato Namikaze curiously, to see what shocking words the fourth generation Hokage, who had been dead for more than 10 years, would say. Minato looked at Orochimaru who was watching the show beside him, ignored him and said slowly, "But this position, Lord Hokage seems a little reluctant." Quote. Looking at Sarutobi Hiruzen's gloomy old face, ignoring the murderous look in his eyes, he continued. "Young people are the hope of Konoha and the future of Konoha. The older generation should trust and protect them. The sacrifices of you older generation will inspire young people and make them the pillars of Konoha. Third generation Hokage, you are old and weak, and you should also leave. Otherwise, Konoha will not be able to develop. You older generation have become Konoha borers, absorbing the nutrients of Konoha, the towering tree." Minato said slowly, without paying any attention to Sarutobi Hiruzen's murderous look. "Enough." Quote. At this moment, a roar interrupted Minato's words, and Sarutobi Hiruzen's face became extremely ugly. Sarutobi Hiruzen did not expect that Minato Namikaze, who used to listen to him, would refute him like this, and even said that he should abdicate. Orochimaru's laughter came, and he clapped his hands. "Ha ha 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 ha, what a great irony." Orochimaru laughed directly after hearing it, looking at Sarutobi Hiruzen's gloomy old face and said, "Did you see, Sarutobi teacher, even the fourth generation Hokage said that. I have to say that you are really a failure, this is really interesting." Turning his head to look at Minato, "Fourth generation Hokage, why don't you destroy this corrupt village with me? Besides, you just said that Konoha has become corrupt, right?" Hearing what Orochimaru said, Minato pondered for a moment, shook his head and refused. No need, no matter what, I am the fourth Hokage of Konoha village. Orochimaru's tone was a little regretful when he heard this, and then he pretended to sigh. Ah la la, this is really a pity. I was thinking that today I can finally fight side by side with the famous Golden Flash. Quote. Minato showed a warm smile to Orochimaru and said lightly. You should first solve the problem between you and the third generation. Aren't you going to destroy Konoha village? Quote. Orochimaru was stunned for a moment when he heard this. He was very surprised that the fourth Hokage, who was very protective of the village in his impression, would say such a thing. Orochimaru showed a sinister smile to Minato. Then he looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen and said, I have to say that I was very dissatisfied when you recommended Minato to be the fourth Hokage. I thought it was a very wrong decision, but now it seems that Minato is really suitable to be the Hokage of Konoha. Orochimaru. Sarutobi Hiruzen heard Orochimaru's sarcastic words and couldn't help but roared at him. But let's solve the problem in front of us first. I don't know if you can handle it. Quote. Orochimaru said with a playful look on his face. Orochimaru ignored Sarutobi Hiruzen's roar. On the contrary, the smile on his face became more and more weird. He slowly stretched out his hands and made a strange seal. The first and second Hokage who were resurrected by the impure world reincarnation seemed to be alive again. The two took a step forward. The people outside the barrier saw the first Hokage Hashirama Senju and the second Hokage Tobarama Senju move, and everyone became more and more nervous, because Minato and Otomo they also heard all the conversations between Orochimaru and the others. Knowing that the first Hokage and the second Hokage were all controlled by Orochimaru, the fourth Hokage didn't know what was going on now. At this time, Kakashi and the others who were outside the barrier all looked at the battle on the roof with serious eyes. One of the Anbu ninjas swallowed his saliva and asked a ninja with white hair and a black mask. Aren't the first Hokage and the other Hokage all dead? Kakashi saw the Anbu ninjas around him asking questions and began to express his own views. It is said that the impure world reincarnation was developed by the second Hokage of Konoha, Tobarama Senju. Later, because the first Hokage thought that this ninjutsu was playing with the souls of the dead, it was also engraved in the Book of Seals. Quote. The impure world reincarnation technique uses the flesh and blood or other tissues of the dead as a medium to summon the dead, but it also requires the use of living people as sacrifices for this number. After hearing the explanation, the Anbu ninjas turned their heads to look at Kakashi who was standing beside them. Kakashi had a high prestige in Konoha village and was known as the Konoha technician copy ninja. And he was the captain of the Anbu before, which was enough for them to respect him. What about the talisman? Kakashi heard the question raised by the Anbu ninjas next to him, and after a moment of contemplation, he gave a reasonable explanation. The talisman should be inserted into the head to wipe out the personality of the original owner's soul, so as to achieve control and turn them into simple killing puppets. Everyone couldn't help but worry when they heard this. In this case, can the third Hokage still be an opponent? Kakashi couldn't help but murmured when he heard this. I hope the third Hokage can stop it, and what's wrong with you, Minato teacher? Quote. Now the whole roof is covered by the barrier, and everyone outside can't get in at all. They want to help but they are powerless. So everyone can only hope that the third Hokage can withstand the attack of the first Hokage, the second Hokage and Orochimaru. Now they can only deal with them in the barrier. Orochimaru and the two Hokages are their enemies, and the third Hokage is their Hokage. The only variable is the fourth Hokage Minato Namikaze, and everyone in Konoha doesn't know what the fourth Hokage is like. Kakashi looked at Minato Namikaze and thought to himself, why didn't the teacher help the third Hokage? Seeing that the teacher's state was not controlled by Orochimaru, Kakashi felt that with the teacher's strength, it should be easy to solve such a situation. But Minato Namikaze was not moved at all at this moment. Instead, he stood there with a smile on his face, looking like he was watching a show. Orochimaru glanced at Minato, aren't you going to stop it? Quote. When he found that the other party had no intention of attacking, he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Just now, when Minato suddenly appeared beside him, he didn't react. No matter what, the other party is the fourth generation Hokage of Konoha. How can he become a Hokage if he doesn't have the strength? Position. That's why Orochimaru specifically looked at Minato to see if he would stop him. Now it seems that Minato has no intention of taking action. Minato's reaction also made the nervous Orochimaru slightly relieved. If Minato took action, it would be hard to say who would win or lose in the end. Seeing this, Orochimaru didn't hesitate. He looked at the crazy face of the third Hokage opposite with a ferocious expression and said, "In that case, let's start fighting. Sarutobi teacher." Before he finished speaking, Orochimaru controlled the two Hokage to attack the place where Sarutobi Hiruzen was. Minato stood quietly in place, watching the fight between the few people, without any intention of taking action. Orochimaru didn't take action against him, and he was too lazy to take action. What he wanted to do now was to leave here and go to a place to complete the sign and to get the sign in reward. Maybe there would be a critical hit reward and rewards from other worlds. Orochimaru, who was controlling the two Hokage, was thinking about other things in his heart. It was obvious that he was reincarnated by the impure world reincarnation, and the one he summoned was the fourth Kazekage Rasa of the Sand Village. But why did it become the fourth Hokage of Konoha, Minato Namikaze? This was definitely not summoned by himself. Could it be that someone else summoned the fourth Hokage? Minato's resurrection was beyond his control. Fortunately, Minato's personality had changed. If it was the previous Minato, he would definitely stop him from destroying Konoha. Maybe he died once, and his thoughts changed after he was resurrected again. However, Orochimaru, the fourth Kazekage Rasa, was very curious about how Minato was replaced. But he just thought that Namikaze Minato might have some trump cards or unknown secrets, just like Orochimaru himself. For the sake of caution, he didn't know what Namikaze Minato might have, so he didn't do anything. Minato, who was watching the battle, had no intention of taking any action. He just stood there quietly and watched the two fight. In Minato's eyes, the current battle felt like a chicken pecking at each other. And the third generation and the first and second generations fought a war. What does this have to do with him? What he wants to do now is to complete the system sign in and get rewards. He is resurrected now. There will definitely be a lot of troubles to deal with later. If he helps the third generation Hokage now, I don't know what kind of mobs he will do later. On the night of the nine-tailed fox several decades ago, the original Minato didn't know why, and because he had no help, he performed the forbidden ninjutsu, the Shiki Fujin, to protect Konoha. His soul was sealed in the belly of the god of death, and his wife Uzumaki Kushina also died at the hands of the nine-tailed fox. The reason was not only the ungrateful Uchiha Obito, but also the high-level officials of Konoha village, Konoha's F4, and of course the original owner was also a fool brainwashed by the will of fire. In order to protect Konoha village, not only did he die, but his wife also died, leaving behind a little baby, that is, Uzumaki Naruto. He was also regarded as a nine-tailed demon fox by the villagers of Konoha village. It can be said that Minato is a qualified Hokage, but not a qualified father and husband. It's better to wait and see the situation before taking action. Now his resurrection is a variable and an exception, even if he helps the third generation Hokage defeat Orochimaru at this time. He will also be recruited by various departments, and he still needs to become a Hokage before the next plan can be carried out. But if he waited a little longer, after the situation on the battlefield changed, the third Hokage might have some problems, and the outcome would be different. Fire style. Fire Dragon Flame Bomb. Water style. Water Array Wall. The battle between the two sides continued, and Minato was extremely surprised when he saw the battle between the two. He didn't expect Sarutobi Hiruzen to have such strength. The peak strength of a ninja is between 20 and 45 years old, and his chakra is the largest, and his body is at its peak. But now the third Hokage is old, and he still has such strength, which makes Minato extremely surprised, and he can't help but look up to the third Hokage. I remember that the third Hokage seemed to be 69 years old when he died in the original work. It seems that Shimura Danzo also died in the hands of Uchiha's second pillar 4 years later. The kunai stabbed Susanoo, and the sealing technique sealed a bridge. These were all done by the first generation of Nabekage. As for the two Konoha advisors behind, they are both old enough to be over 100 years old, and they are still alive in Boruto. As for the first and second Hokage on the other side, although most of their strength has been sealed, they are not simple either. When Minato first crossed over, he merged Minato's body and strength, plus the captain-level spiritual pressure obtained from the system. With the addition of Ryujin Jaka, he doesn't know how strong he is now. Looking at the strength of the first Hokage, Minato was still a little shocked. Although he knew that the first Hokage was very strong when he watched Naruto before, he was still a little surprised to see it with his own eyes. The opponent is now in the impure world reincarnation technique performed by Orochimaru, and the strength he exerts is less than 2/10 of his peak strength. Although the third Hokage is old and his strength has declined, he is still at the level of Kage, and he still fights back and forth with the third Hokage. The third Hokage is called the ninjutsu doctor and is proficient in the 5 chakra attributes. It can be said that the current third Hokage is definitely the best in the current ninja world. If he mastered the power of the 9 tails and activated the Kurama mode, he should be able to fight against the peak strength of Senju Hashirama, but now it seems that he is still a little short. After all, although many fans called the God of Death stronger than the Hokage when watching Bleach in the previous life, there is still no comparison. Besides, apart from the Shikai and Zenkudachi of Ryujin Jaka, he seems to have no ghost arts. Minato murmured in his heart. I don't know if I can defeat the first generation Hokage in his prime when I activate my Bankai. But Minato was not worried. After all, he has a plug-in system, and as long as he works hard to sign in, he will definitely become stronger. The third Hokage Minato didn't take it to heart, and he could easily defeat Sarutobi Hiruzen with his current strength. The people outside the barrier exclaimed when they saw the battle inside. Is this the strength of the first and second Hokage? Everyone was a little shocked to see the magnificent chakra of the first and second Hokage. Quote, and today they really know what the god of ninja is. Besides, this is still in the case of impure world reincarnation, the strength of the first and second Hokage cannot be exerted to 1/10 of their full strength. If they can exert their full strength, Kakashi couldn't help whispering. Is this still a ninja? But why hasn't the fourth Hokage taken action yet? The voices of the people came through the barrier. Fourth Hokage, please help the third Hokage, he is almost dying. Quote, Minato looked at the battlefield. After a long battle, the third Hokage's chakra was almost exhausted. The right leg fracture consumed a lot of chakra, and the body could not keep up with the rhythm of the battle. He is really old. Minato looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen lying on the ground and said with some emotion. After this battle, even if the opponent did not die, he would be seriously injured and could hardly fight at a high intensity. Under the joint attack of the first Hokage, the second Hokage and Orochimaru, he had already become a spent force. Looking at Orochimaru on the opposite side, he stood in front of Sarutobi Hiruzen and slowly said, Orochimaru, it's my turn to appear. Now change people. As for why Minato didn't deal with Orochimaru at the beginning, he was waiting for such an opportunity. Because only in this way, the third Hokage would abdicate after this war, and he could regain power. If he helped at the beginning, the battle would end soon, and Sarutobi Hiruzen would definitely still sit firmly on the position of Hokage. At that time, there would be the Elders' Council to pressure him, although he didn't care. But he was still very unhappy in his heart, and lived in Konoha for a while. If they know what's good for them, let them live a little longer, and if they dare to make trouble, send them to the Pure Land to see the Six Paths Sage. Sometimes strength is important, but the hearts of the people are equally important. If not, Hatake Tsukumo would not have committed suicide because of rumors. Minato's action made Orochimaru slightly stunned, and then he stared at Minato Namikaze with a gloomy face, and a hoarse voice came out of his mouth. Are you going to stop me? Minato. Minato was stunned, and couldn't help but complain in his heart, good guy, is Orochimaru so brave? Looking at the arrogant Orochimaru, he couldn't help but say, Orochimaru, have you become so arrogant? This is not the battlefield. Minato and I were companions on the battlefield. I know your strength very well. Orochimaru said with a smile. Minato said indifferently after hearing this. What do you want to say? The Ambu ninja outside saw the fourth Hokage take action, and couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. With the strength of the fourth Hokage, he will definitely be able to turn the tide and defeat Orochimaru. The ninjas outside couldn't help but discuss. Why did Orochimaru say that just now? Is the fourth Hokage not his opponent? A civilian said in horror. At this time, another civilian heard the words and continued. Have you forgotten that the fourth Hokage's most powerful thing is speed? It can be said that he is a master of flying thunder god, and he is almost the fastest man in the ninja world. The fourth Hokage of the Cloud Village once said, after the death of the fourth Hokage, his speed can be said to be the fastest in the ninja world, and no one is faster than him. But the fourth Hokage is famous for the flying thunder god technique, which is praised as breaking through darkness and light, and is named Golden Flash by the people in the ninja world. At this time, an Ambu immediately said the words that once civilized the ninja world. But if we put aside the flying thunder god technique, the teacher's strength will be greatly reduced. But the teacher still has the Sage Mode and the Rasengan, so he may not be powerless against Orochimaru. Everyone hurriedly looked in the direction of the voice and saw Kakashi, and then remembered that Kakashi was originally a disciple of the fourth Hokage Minato Namikaze. Immediately, everyone reacted and said, then the fourth Hokage has no advantage against Orochimaru, because the space in the barrier is too narrow, and the flying thunder god technique cannot be used in actual combat. At this time, Kakashi added again. Besides, to perform the thunder god technique, a special flying thunder god kunai needs to be customized, but now the teacher has just been resurrected, let alone the flying thunder god kunai, I am afraid he doesn't even have ordinary weapons. Yes, the fourth Hokage has just been resurrected, where can he get a special flying thunder god kunai? A Anbu ninja said with concern. Another Anbu ninja continued. The face under the mask also looked a little ugly. If this is the case, I'm afraid that the fourth Hokage may not be his opponent. Everyone was angry and cursed, is Konoha going to be destroyed? Obviously, everyone could not accept this ending. Just then, a group of 3 people rushed over, and the fourth Hokage thought he would win. Everyone looked towards the source of the sound, and saw a boy about 12 or 13 years old running over, followed by a boy with a cold face and a pink-haired girl. The 3 people who came were Uzumaki Naruto, Uchiha Nijiru and Sakura. Teacher Kakashi, we are here. Naruto said a little out of breath because of the intense rush. Seeing this, Kakashi hurriedly asked the 3 people, why are you here? After we solved the problem there, we heard a huge explosion in Konoha village, and the 3 of us hurried back. Uchiha Sasuke said coldly. The 3 of them looked inside the barrier, and Sakura, who was standing next to them, immediately set her sights on Minato Namikaze. With little stars in her eyes, she couldn't help but let out a scream and said, wow, so handsome. Naruto also looked quickly and saw Orochimaru, one of the 3 ninjas, and the 3rd Hokage, as well as the 1st Hokage and the 2nd Hokage, and finally set his sights on Minato Namikaze's body. Inside the barrier, the foundation of Konoha is you, the villagers of Konoha, and never are Hokage. Minato said to the Anbu ninja who had just cursed. This sentence made all the Anbu ninjas speechless. They looked at Minato in disbelief, and admired him in their hearts. Is this the other party's vision? Orochimaru was dumbfounded when he heard this, and said to Namikaze, Minato, I have to say that Minato, you are really a genius. You have such a strong strength and such a high mind. I don't think you have such a high awareness when you were that age. Minato smiled warmly at Orochimaru, thank you for the compliment. Orochimaru looked at Minato with admiration and said, this is not what I said. This is Jiraiya's evaluation of you, I just conveyed it on his behalf. But then Orochimaru changed the subject and said, Minato, don't stop me. After I kill Sarutobi, Konoha is still yours. If it doesn't work, I can help you get rid of the elders. Besides, Konoha has your only relative, this is your and Kushina's child. You don't want him to get into trouble. Quote. Orochimaru continued without waiting for Minato to speak. Minato did not show any anger when he heard this, but just wondered if Orochimaru was a time traveler. Otherwise, how could he know the special threatening language of the villain in the novel of the previous life? For example, Madam, you don't want anything to happen to your husband. Although this sentence is not so fierce, it is indeed very useful for threatening people. Quote. Then Minato looked outside and saw a blonde boy in the crowd, that is, the protagonist of Naruto in Naruto, Uzumaki Naruto, who is also the chief son of the original owner of this body. Seeing Minato looking at him, Uzumaki Naruto gave Minato a thumbs up, smiled, and shouted. Come on, 4th Hokage, defeat that dead face. Minato smiled warmly and gave Uzumaki Naruto a thumbs up. Naruto found that Minato Namikaze was smiling at him, and he danced with joy and said to Sakura and Sasuke beside him, "Did you see that? The fourth Hokage smiled at me." Sakura was immersed in the ecstasy and ignored Naruto, and Sasuke just looked at him coldly without answering Naruto's words. Orochimaru said, "Minato, how do you feel about seeing your son?" "Feeling, it's okay." Minato looked at Orochimaru and said lightly, "Orochimaru, give up. I understand your plan. Now it's enough." Orochimaru said, "What are you talking about?" Minato didn't answer but said to himself, "You have never given up on Konoha, but you feel that Konoha is already rotten now." Namikaze Minato ignored Orochimaru's increasingly gloomy face and continued. "Because the high-level guys in Konoha have become the termites of Konoha, and your teacher Sarutobi Hiruzen has been devoured by the desire for power, your feelings for Konoha are strange, and your feelings for Sarutobi Hiruzen are like a father, so you want him to die. You want your teacher to die in a war to defend Konoha, so you remember that it's up to you to being the villain. This is why the poor ninjas and civilians in Konoha basically didn't suffer many casualties. Quote, you attacked Konoha, and the third Hokage fought desperately. In order to protect Konoha, he died in your hands, and thus won the title of Konoha Hero. Because you know that the third Hokage doesn't have many years left to live, you want to give him a perfect ending. This way you can hide some of the shady things that the third Hokage did behind the scenes. You don't want him to die of old age like this, but want to give him a heroic ending. I have to say that Orochimaru, you are really a filial son." Hearing Minato's words, Sarutobi Hiruzen said slowly, "Is what Minato said true? Orochimaru, I really didn't see it wrong about my favorite disciple. Even if he left Konoha village, he was still thinking about Konoha and his teacher." "So you think so, Orochimaru?" Orochimaru looked at Minato Namikaze with a gloomy face and said, "Minato Namikaze, you are such a fool." Minato laughed, "Orochimaru, you are actually angry, this is not like the you I know." Minato heard Orochimaru's roar but was not angry. Instead, he smiled at him and said, "What do you think? You don't think that you can conquer Konoha with just the few people in the Sound Village. As a former Konoha high-level official, you should know this. Although the strength of Konoha village is not as good as before, it is still very strong now. With Shimura Danzo, these two Konoha advisors and many Konoha elite jonin, it is impossible to take over Konoha village with the few crooked people in Otogakur." After taking a look at Orochimaru who was increasingly feeling unwell, Minato continued. "So you reached an agreement with Shimura Danzo. If the third Hokage died, Shimura Danzo would be the most likely person to become the fifth Hokage, so the two of you hit it off." Of course, Minato didn't know whether Orochimaru and Danzo had cooperated, but he didn't know. Anyway, he should just blame Danzo for any mistakes. After all, this was the first Daikoku. Just as Orochimaru was about to speak, Minato said, "Don't tell me you're after the Sharingan. That thing is easy for you to get, isn't it?" As Minato spoke, Orochimaru's face turned livid. Quote, "You really haven't changed, Orochimaru. Minato Namikaze, there's no point in talking, just do it. Let me see your strength." Orochimaru waved his hand in anger, and the first Hokage, the second Hokage, and Orochimaru rushed towards Minato Namikaze. He didn't intend to let Minato continue. No matter what, his original plan was like this, to let his teacher, the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, die in the name of the hero of Konoha. With a bang, Minato took a step forward as the three attacked. Suddenly, everyone felt their bodies suddenly sink, as if a mountain was pressing on them. The people around them could not move, and raised their heads with great difficulty to look at Minato, with incredible looks in their eyes. A powerful chakra burst out from Minato's body, like a flood of beasts roaring past, and the chakra spread out in all directions, whether it was the ground, the surrounding bricks and tiles, or the surrounding dust. At this moment, everything was blown away. Even the four Otogakur ninjas who were maintaining the four red yang formation outside were all forced to kneel on one knee, gasping for breath, so that the Konohagakur ninjas who were farther away from the battle were not blown away by this powerful chakra. Kakashi and others outside tried their best to resist this pressure. Uzumaki Naruto and others beside Kakashi looked at the people in the barrier with pale faces. Uchiha Sasuke, who was standing by, felt this pressure and was very angry, because this power reminded him of that man, and he clenched his fists unconsciously. Not only did he think in his heart, if this power was mine, I should be able to kill that man. Other ninjas didn't know how strong Minato Namikaze was, but Kakashi, as Minato Namikaze's disciple, knew how strong Minato Namikaze was when he was alive. He felt that it was much stronger than decades ago. As for Orochimaru, who was in the center of this chakra, he stood in place, his body trembling slightly, and was trying his best to resist this power. What power is this? Orochimaru raised his head with difficulty and said to Minato Namikaze. Orochimaru couldn't believe that this terrifying power was the chakra emitted from Minato Namikaze's body. What Minato Namikaze didn't know was that since the system rewarded him with the spirit pressure of the god of death, his chakra amount and the nature of his chakra had also undergone earth-shaking changes. Orochimaru's already pale and weak face became even paler. He looked at Minato Namikaze with an incredible look, and his tone was full of fear. What on earth is going on? Why is Minato Namikaze's chakra so rich? Such chakra is so rich that it can be seen with the eyes. This power makes him a little unbearable. You know, he is a shadow-level strongman, Orochimaru, one of the three ninjas. There is Minato Namikaze in front and Uchiha Itachi behind. These two guys have surpassed him. Now Minato gives Orochimaru the feeling that he is invincible and is not at the same level of power. Drops of cold sweat slid down his forehead. Orochimaru gasped heavily. I don't know if it was too much pressure that caused hallucinations or something. In short, this is something he can't accept. There is Minato Namikaze in front and Itachi Uchiha behind. Are they so powerful? Orochimaru thought to himself. What Orochimaru didn't know was that when Minato accepted the spiritual pressure of the Shinigami given by the system, his chakra was much more than before, and even the nature of the chakra had changed. What's more, Orochimaru had experienced several reincarnations, and his soul was already fragile, not to mention that Minato's chakra was mixed with some spiritual pressure. The spiritual pressure is used to attack the soul among the Shinigami, so Orochimaru is so unbearable. These two people were his juniors, and now they have all surpassed him. It is really a great irony to put the title of one of the three ninjas and the Cold King on himself. Orochimaru couldn't help but smile bitterly in his heart. It's too outrageous that he can't bear just a burst of chakra. Orochimaru can't accept it. He is Orochimaru, one of the three ninjas. He is still a veteran cage-level strongman. Not to mention that Minato has been dead for more than 10 years, his strength has not weakened but strengthened. He has lived for decades longer than Minato. He has also practiced for many more years than him. He knew when Minato became Hokage, but he felt that Minato was only capable of being Hokage, that's all. What Orochimaru couldn't accept was that when they were both captains, they didn't realize how powerful the other was, but why is the other's strength so strong now? Or Minato can still practice in the belly of the god of death, which is impossible. Even novels don't dare to write like that. I'm sorry, Orochimaru, the third generation can't die now, so I, Minato Namikaze, will protect the third generation Hokage. Minato's eyes were very calm. Orochimaru roared angrily when he heard this. You really deserve to die. His body slowly straightened up. A huge pressure was on him, but such pain was nothing to him. What really made people unable to bear was the pain in their hearts, not the pain in their bodies. Orochimaru stood up slowly under the huge pressure, and forced a smile and said, haha. You are indeed a genius that Jiraiya praised. You still don't give up. Namikaze Minato couldn't help but said as he looked at Orochimaru's shaky appearance. Now the situation has basically been controlled by himself, but despite this, Orochimaru still refused to give up. Yes, Orochimaru is one of the three ninjas, and this is not just talk. The three ninjas are not just a name. Orochimaru stood up straight, shouted loudly, and put his hands together. In an instant, the first and second generation Hokage, who were in the idle state, responded. Water style, water rush. Wood style, tree world descends. Under the control of Orochimaru, the two of them performed ninjutsu and rushed towards Minato Namikaze. A huge tornado-like attack quickly hit Minato Namikaze's face. At the same time, the first generation Hokage, Hashirama Senju, turned his body outward, and a large number of trees suddenly emerged from the ground. In an instant, the location where several people were located was submerged by trees. Minato was a little surprised to see this. According to common sense, although the first-generation Hokage and the second-generation Hokage are very powerful, it is not all their strength. Because the strength that can be exerted by the impure world reincarnation is less than 2/10 of its heyday. The power that I just released was unable to suppress it. Could it be that Chakra has no suppressive power on the body of the impure world reincarnation? Or maybe my pressure has an effect on the impure world reincarnation, but it was all restored in an instant. It is precisely because their bodies can be continuously restored that they don't care at all. At the same time, Minato jumped to avoid the water jutsu of the second Hokage and landed on a dead tree. With a bang, he suddenly raised his right hand and hit Minato Namikaze. Minato dodged it nimbly, and kicked the Senju Hashirama in front of him with his right leg. With a bang, the kicked Senju Hashirama turned into a cloud of smoke and disappeared. It turned out that Minato had just kicked the wood clone of Senju Hashirama. Shashasha. At the same time, the Rasengan that Minato had just condensed in his right hand hit the sneak attack of Senju Tobarama. Boom boom boom. With a loud bang, the surrounding trees were hit by his attack, and debris flew everywhere. Senju Tobarama was also hit and retreated rapidly. He had just blocked the attack of Senju Tobarama, and turned to respond to Senju Hashirama. The three of them fought dozens of times in a short time. Wow, these two brothers cooperated well. Minato secretly admired them. The moment one of them attacked, the other was responsible for blocking his attack. No matter what position Minato was in during the battle, these two guys could seamlessly connect, defend their attacks and attack them again. Minato used his spiritual pressure perception this time. In his perception, Minato found that the battlefield was filled with a lot of life energy, or to be more precise, would escape chakra. The opponent relied on would escape chakra to judge his position. At the same time, he told Senju Tobarama on the side that the two of them attacked him. The two were brothers, so the cooperation between them was naturally unnecessary. It seemed that it should be over. He didn't want to waste time like this anymore. After all, he still had to sign in at various places to improve his strength. At the same time, the two's attacks also arrived, and Senju Tobarama's sword also stabbed at Namikaze Minato's chest. Minato closed his eyes slightly, and a powerful chakra instantly blocked the attacks of the two and wrapped Minato inside. Minato felt this force and couldn't help but be surprised that this force was the natural energy of the Naruto world. Orochimaru couldn't help but swear when he saw this scene. This is Sage Mode. Realistic. I'm not very familiar with Sage Mode either. Minato said lightly when he saw this. Senjutsu is a kind of natural energy. In the three holy places, this natural energy is mastered and studied by the three holy places and the three great sages. Thus, the Sage Mode was developed. The Sage Mode can convert one's own chakra into Senjutsu chakra, thereby enhancing one's chakra perception and the power of one's own ninjutsu. The ninjutsu performed by the Senjutsu chakra converted from natural energy is much stronger than before. Many people know this, and Orochimaru, as one of the three ninjas, cannot be unaware of it. After all, his summoning beast Manabu comes from the Raichi cave of the three holy places, and Orochimaru also knows about the Sage Mode of the Raichi cave. But Orochimaru did not learn it, because the trial of the Raichi cave is very cruel, and there is no way out. Once failed, there is only the fate of being eaten. This is one of the reasons why Orochimaru did not learn it. Orochimaru dreams of achieving immortality. Of course, Orochimaru will not do such a dangerous and uncertain thing. Seeing the Sage Mode performed by Minato Namikaze made Orochimaru lose his composure because of his two good friends Jiraiya and Tsunade. One of them learned the Sage Mode of the Toad Holy Land, and the other created his own yin seal that can store chakra in the body, which is the 100 Healings technique. Only he did not learn the Sage technique, which became the eternal pain in Orochimaru's heart. Minato saw Orochimaru's confused expression and said that this was a basic operation. As Jiraiya's disciple, it was normal for him to know the Sage Mode, right? Before he finished speaking, Minato attacked the three people. Minato dodged the attack of the first generation of Hokage and a huge wind ball appeared in his left hand in an instant. Sage technique, Big Ball Rasengan. The Sage technique Big Ball Rasengan directly smashed the second generation of Hokage's impure world reincarnation body to pieces with one strike. Then he sent the first Hokage flying with a roundhouse kick and shouted, "Wind style. Rasenshuriken." That's right, Minato used the S-level ninjutsu wind style Rasenshuriken developed by his own son, but unfortunately he had never used it again in the Boruto era. The first Hokage's body turned into ashes, and Minato turned to look at Orochimaru on the opposite side. Orochimaru saw Namikaze Minato looking at him. He couldn't help but tremble all over, and then Minato flashed in front of Orochimaru and kicked him. Orochimaru couldn't dodge and was kicked backwards and hit the barrier. Orochimaru looked at Minato as if he was looking at a monster. He didn't even see how fast he was just now, and how he appeared, and he was directly knocked out. In fact, it is no exaggeration to say that his instant body technique is no worse than Uchiha Shisui's, and even better, but he used the Flying Thunder God technique to become famous in the ninja world, thus earning the title of Golden Flash. Then, Minato disappeared. Orochimaru looked serious and used defensive ninjutsu. Summoning technique Triple Rashomon, 3 doors-like masks tightly protected Orochimaru. He blocked Minato's attack. This was the first time he used such a move to block Minato's attack, but there was no other way. Because Minato's attack was too fast, Orochimaru could not judge from which direction Minato would attack, so he had to use this method to block the attack. It's not over yet. After all, the first and second Hokage are the bodies of impure world reincarnation, and they are immortal and have infinite chakra. Even if Minato could seriously injure the 2 Hokage, they should have recovered after such a long time. Seeing this, Minato looked at Hashirama Senju and the second Hokage who were recovering. With a cold shout, a strange and majestic force emanated from his body, and the golden fairy chakra mixed with the fiery red spiritual pressure crushed the 3 people. The first and second Hokage who were recovering slowly stopped recovering and slowly began to dissipate. Not long after, they turned into a handful of yellow soil. As the bodies of impure world reincarnation were broken, the 2 souls slowly rose into the air. Then Hashirama Senju exclaimed, "It's really good. The 4th Hokage will be handed over to you next. Tobirama and I will leave." Tobirama Senju, who was standing aside, did not speak when he heard this. He snorted coldly and disappeared with Hashirama Senju. Needless to say, he knew that he had returned to the Pure Land. Quote, Orochimaru's eyes were dull as he looked at the scene in front of him. The impure world reincarnation was actually cracked. This was simply a fantasy. His heart sank. He thought about how to deal with Minato Namikaze and even how to escape. He had already thought about it. In this situation, without the help of the first and second Hokage, he was definitely not a match for Minato Namikaze and might even die. Because Orochimaru just felt that when Minato Namikaze released his chakra to forcibly disperse the body of the impure world reincarnation, his soul was actually greatly damaged, even more than the damage caused by the illusion when fighting Uchiha Itachi. Watching the souls of the 2 Hokage return to the Pure Land, Minato also said with a clear conscience, this can be considered a good thing, sending them to the Pure Land. Then Minato looked at Orochimaru, and glanced at Sarutobi Hiruzen who was lying on the ground and had not yet gotten up. Thinking about whether to send this old thing to the Western Paradise now. Minato struggled for a while, but still did not take action to get rid of the 3rd Hokage. Looking at Orochimaru on the side, Minato did not want to kill Orochimaru. Besides, Orochimaru's means of saving his life are one of the best, and it is not so easy to kill. It is also uncertain whether Orochimaru has any backup. Besides, Orochimaru is a ninja scientist in the Naruto world, and he might need him in the future. Orochimaru, go. Take your men away from Konoha village, Minato said in a calm voice. Orochimaru was stunned when he heard this, and then his face was full of anger. You are really annoying. In Orochimaru's opinion, this was Minato's mockery of her, saying that you are not my opponent, I will spare your life, and you should get out of here quickly. This made her feel uncomfortable. You know, this is her junior. Now it is difficult for her to resist the pressure alone, let alone fight with Minato. Quote, Minato's strength was no worse than hers before, and his strength had reached the ranks of cage-level strongman. Now more than 10 years have passed, and the strength of the dead Minato has not only not weakened, but also increased. The power that burst out from Minato just now was absolutely not an ordinary power. My soul almost collapsed. Minato also knew the Sage Mode and Sage Chakra. Ahem. It's you, Namikaze Minato. This kind of magnanimity is much better than that idiot Uchiha Itachi, Orochimaru said slowly. For such a corrupt village, he actually killed his own relatives to show his magnanimity. Orochimaru turned around and looked at the third Hokage lying on the ground. Obviously, he had not given up and planned to kill the third Hokage. Minato saw Orochimaru's thoughts and said lightly, I'm here. You can't kill him, and what's the use of killing him now? Chapter 11. Hearing this, Orochimaru loosened his tightly clenched hands, his face returned to calm, and he walked to the side of the barrier and a low voice sounded. But I still hope you can give him a perfect ending. Orochimaru spoke hoarsely. I will, but you have to pay the price for doing something wrong, right? Minato said with a smile. Orochimaru stopped when he heard this, turned around with a gloomy face, and looked at the smiling Minato Namikaze. He always felt that Minato Namikaze had changed now. The smile that made people feel warm in the past was gone in Orochimaru's eyes, and the warmth of the past. On the contrary, he saw a chill that was several times colder than his own, and the boundless murderous intent. It was obvious that this person had changed into a wolf in sheep's clothing. Orochimaru looked at Minato Namikaze, who was looking at him with a smile on his face, and muttered to himself. Yes, you have to pay the price for doing something wrong. Orochimaru also nodded secretly, obviously agreeing with what Minato said. This is also the basic cognition of people. Quote, but some things cannot be judged by right or wrong, but your decision may not succeed, just like me, Orochimaru said slowly. Didn't you say it? I am the fourth Hokage of Konoha village. No one can disobey my decision, and no one can overrule my judgment. If there is, send him to the Pure Land to see the Six Paths Sage. I believe no one will look forward to seeing the Six Paths Sage, Minato said slowly in a cold voice. From Minato's mouth, Orochimaru heard waves of chills, still so sure, still so calm. The person in front of him made Orochimaru feel strange and familiar. The reason for the strangeness was that this person had changed, and became ruthless in doing things. The familiarity was the familiar moves and the familiar smile. Yes, because you are the fourth Hokage. Quote, Orochimaru nodded slightly, waved his hand and asked his men to untie the barrier. His 4 Odogaker ninjas stood behind Orochimaru instantly. There was also a white-haired young man wearing glasses. This guy should be one of the masterminds behind the Fourth Ninja World War. Sensing Minato's sight, Kabuto Yakushi, who was next to Orochimaru, suddenly felt like he had fallen into an ice cellar and trembled all over. It was not until Minato's sight shifted elsewhere that Kabuto Yakushi felt much better. Minato slowly walked towards Orochimaru on the opposite side. Seeing this, Orochimaru quickly made an attacking move. Minato saw Orochimaru's attitude and shook his head and said, I have already said that I will let you go. You can go, but you have to wait a while. Minato walked to Orochimaru, and the system's prompt sound rang. It was found that the target Kabuto Yakushi could be signed in. Did you sign in? Minato smiled at the corner of his mouth when he heard this, and silently said in his heart, sign in. Quote, congratulations to the host for obtaining the elementary palm magic. The cold mechanical sound of the system came, and Minato was slightly disappointed when he heard it. Why is it the palm magic? It's still an elementary palm magic, but it was also within Minato's expectations. After all, the current Kabuto Yakushi is not the Kabuto sage during the Fourth War. This guy is still rubbish now. Then Minato moved away from Orochimaru. Minato looked at everyone with a serious expression. Okay, disperse. He said. It turned out that at the moment when Orochimaru removed the barrier, the surrounding Ambu ninjas and some civilian ninjas surrounded him. It seems that they want to capture Orochimaru alive. Even if Orochimaru is not in good condition now, it is not something that some cats and dogs can deal with. If they are allowed to besiege Orochimaru, it will definitely increase casualties. In response to this, Minato asked them to retreat. They, the Anbu ninjas and civilian ninjas, still want to keep Orochimaru, one of the 3 ninjas, cold-hearted. Are they thinking too much? 4th generation sir. Quote, Orochimaru is a traitor, we can't let him go. And he seriously injured the 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. We can't let Orochimaru and his men leave. One after another, the Anbu ninjas told Minato Namikaze not to let Orochimaru go. This really had the flavor of forcing the emperor to abdicate. Seeing this, Minato's eyes also darkened, looking at his familiar subordinates and his disciples. I couldn't help shouting, Kakashi, Shiranui Genma, and the same foot. Minato Namikaze's eyes fell on the people whose names were called out at the same time. Seeing this, several people hesitated for a moment and then moved away. Kakashi hesitated for a moment and moved away. After all, the person who was speaking was his teacher, who was also the fourth Hokage of Konoha. The other party had the right and ability to let him move aside. Kakashi felt that if he had to choose one person to be the Hokage between his teacher and the third Hokage, it would undoubtedly be his teacher Minato Namikaze. Kakashi called out to the next to him. Naruto Uzumaki and others stared at Minato Namikaze in a daze, and then Uchiha Sasuke ran away. As for the others, bang, bang. Seeing this, Minato Namikaze once again released his immense chakra, forcing all the Ambu to kneel on one knee. Orochimaru quickly protected the Audiobook ninja behind him, crossed his hands in front of his chest, and struggled to resist this force. Drops of cold sweat ran down Orochimaru's pale and weak cheeks, and a hoarse voice came from Orochimaru's mouth. How much of your strength is Minato's current burst of power? The surrounding roofs were also blown away by this powerful force, and the entire house was also blown to pieces by this force. Minato heard this and groped his chin with one hand and replied, 50% of the power. Orochimaru was shocked to hear Minato say this, but he still laughed dryly on the surface, only 50%. Quote. After hearing what Orochimaru said, Minato said helplessly, after all, they are too weak. It is impossible for them to withstand 70% of my chakra like you. If I use the chakra I used against you before, they can't bear it at all. After all, my goal is just to get you out of here. Hearing what Minato said, Orochimaru smiled on his pale and sick face. The golden vertical pupils stared at Minato closely, and turned away with the Audiobook ninjas. At this moment, the unconscious Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly spit out a mouthful of old blood, attracting the attention of countless Ambu ninjas. Minato Namikaze saw Orochimaru had left with his men and stopped releasing his chakra. He turned to look at the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was surrounded by the Ambu ninjas. Minato walked closer but did not reach out to help Sarutobi Hiruzen on the ground. Instead, he said indifferently, the third Hokage is old and was injured in the battle with Orochimaru. Just send him to the ninja hospital. The Ambu ninjas who were supporting Sarutobi Hiruzen were sweating and did not dare to look up at Minato Namikaze, because the feeling Minato gave them just now was too terrifying and they were still feeling a little uncomfortable. They quickly lowered their heads and responded, it's the Hokage. Everyone understood that only a small part of the third Hokage's injuries were caused by the battle with Orochimaru, and the rest were basically caused by Minato Namikaze releasing his own chakra. But everyone knew very well that no one would take the initiative to bring up this matter, because it was not their turn to manage this matter. Besides, even if they were asked to manage it, would they dare to manage it? Minato's actions just now have already shown that the fourth Hokage stood on the opposite side of the third Hokage. This is a fight between Hokages, and they cannot intervene. After watching a few people leave, Minato returned to the Hokage building, walked to the Hokage's office, and sat in the position of Hokage. You want to ask why Minato didn't go to see Uzumaki Naruto? Come on, besides, Naruto was not born by himself and Uzumaki Kushina, but only the son of his predecessor, but Namikaze Minato will still fulfill his obligations as a father. After all, no matter what, this body is Naruto's father. Another reason is that Naruto is too saintly, which makes Minato a little disgusted. Are you telling the truth, Mr. Kakashi? Naruto asked Kakashi excitedly. The fourth Hokage is my father. I am not a fox demon or a monster. Haruno Sakura on the side was also incredulous. She didn't expect that the guy who made trouble every day was actually the son of the fourth Hokage. Uchiha Sasuke was also surprised when he heard it. Obviously, he didn't expect that Naruto, the last one, would be the son of the fourth Hokage. Who is the fourth Hokage? This is the third Ninja World War. Isn't it the Golden Flash Namikaze Minato who became famous in the ninja world? Kakashi looked helpless. How about this, you and I go to see the teacher and ask him if you are his son. Uzumaki Naruto nodded and rushed to the location of the Hokage building. Kakashi hurriedly followed him when he saw this. After all, he also had a lot to say to the teacher. Uchiha Sasuke and Haruno Sakura followed and soon arrived at the door of the Hokage's office. Kakashi knocked first. Hearing the knock, Minato stopped working and said to the door, "Come in." Kakashi and Uzumaki Naruto arrived at the Hokage's office. Naruto saw the man with golden hair and a gentle smile on his face and asked tremblingly, "Fourth Hokage, you are my father, right?" Minato was a little surprised to hear this. He didn't expect Naruto to ask so directly. He glanced at Kakashi beside him. Seeing this, Kakashi lowered his head like a child who had made a mistake. Then Minato put his elbows on his chin, looked at his son, and asked with a smile, "Do you want me to be your father?" Naruto heard Minato say this, his eyes flickered, and he didn't know how to speak for a while. He was afraid that the man in front of him would tell him that he was not his father. Minato saw what Naruto was thinking. He walked up to Naruto and touched his head. He looked into his azure blue eyes and said word by word, "I am your biological father." Naruto couldn't hold back any longer and threw himself into Minato's arms. He couldn't hold back any more tears and burst out. He couldn't help but ask loudly, "Why did you leave me? Why did my mother leave me too?" Listening to Naruto's somewhat collapsed speech, Minato felt a little uncomfortable. "I heard from Teacher Kakashi, you sealed the 9 tails into my body back then. Do you know how I have been through these years? For 12 years, do you know how I have been through these 12 years? Speak. I eat expired bread and drink expired milk every day. Why couldn't you be selfish with your mother and survive for me at that time? In this way, I am no longer an orphan, and I am no longer the demon fox in the mouth of the common people of Konoha. In this way, I am the son of Hokage in their mouths for these 12 years. Why did you seal the 9 tails into your son's body?" Minato seemed to sense Naruto's emotions, or maybe it was the influence of the previous body, this body, that made him say involuntarily, "Naruto, I'm sorry, it was Dad's fault. Mom and Dad shouldn't have left you. I just wanted to seal the 9 tails into your body. I believed that you could master this power and become a hero of the village, but I didn't expect that it indirectly harmed you. Now that Dad is back, you are no longer an orphan." Naruto's excitement gradually subsided when he heard Minato's words. Naruto also felt his father's love and guilt for him, and knew how hard it was to get this hard-earned fatherly love. If it weren't for Dad's resurrection, he would still be an orphan now. He didn't expect that he was the son of the 4th Hokage Minato Namikaze, whom he had always admired. So, Naruto raised his tear-stained little face and looked at Minato. "From today on, I am a child with a father. My father is the 4th Hokage. Let's see who dares to call me a monster or a demon fox." Seeing Naruto Uzumaki's happy look, Minato also laughed unconsciously, and then reached out to touch Naruto Uzumaki's head. At this time, the voice of the system sounded in Minato's mind, "Wakaka. It's been a while since I last saw you, and you already have a son." Minato's thoughts were instantly immersed in the system. "By the way, System Elf, you're awake. Won't it take a long time for you to wake up?" Minato's somewhat puzzled voice sounded. Hearing Minato's question, the System Elf said slowly, "I just like to sleep and there's nothing wrong. The system mall is open. Do you want to come in and take a look?" Minato looked at the system panel immediately after hearing this, and sure enough, he saw an additional system mall below. Going in, he saw Devil Fruit, Sharingan, Byakugan, Would Release Blood Boundary, Otsutsuki Blood Boundary, Samsara Eye, Golden Samsara Eye, 6 Magatama Samsara Eye, Tensai Eye, and the little-known Kungunami Eye. Seeing this, Minato couldn't help but praise, "Wow, this must have been dug from a Shiki Otsutsuki." Then he looked down. The era of the beauty contact lenses ended, and the era of tattoos began. Then Minato asked the system, "You have something?" The system elf heard this and raised its head proudly and said, "Of course, this system can allow you to open the tattoo era in advance. Isn't it surprising?" Minato nodded in agreement, then looked at other worlds above, and after clicking in, he saw some weapons from other worlds. Skills and armor, such as the War Soul Blade and the Sky Dance technique in the Dragon Ball world, can all be exchanged with the system, but you need to exchange points to exchange them. 1 Magatama Sharingan 2 points. 2 Magatama Sharingan 5 points. 3 Magatama Sharingan 10 points. Mangekyo Sharingan 20 points. Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan 40 points. Rinnegan 80 points. 6 Magatama Sharingan 120 points. 9 Magatama Sharingan Samsara I 180 points. Quote. Wood Style Blood Limit 40 points. Quote. A-level Ninjutsu Fire Style Great Fire Extinguishment 12 points. Quote. A-level Ninjutsu Fire Style Great Fire Extinguishment 12 points. Quote. Looking at these two ninjutsu, I couldn't help but sigh. This is Madara-sama's signature ninjutsu. In my previous life, when I was following the anime Naruto, Uchiha Madara was resurrected by Kabuto Yakushi during the Fourth Ninja World War. When fighting against the Ninja World Alliance, a fire-style ninjutsu was used by Madara-sama with the power of S-level fire style. The Ninja Coalition used a squad of water-style ninjas to barely hold off. You can imagine how strong the chakra was. Then they flipped to other worlds and looked at Rubber Fruit 150 points. Zanpakuto 100 points. Air Dance 120 points. 10 times Kaioken without side effects 160 points. Super Saiyan Bloodline 350 points. Super Saiyan 1 150 points. Super Saiyan 2 250 points. Super Saiyan 3 350 points. Currently only updated to Super Saiyan 3. The system will update the later stages when it is in a good mood, the system elf said lazily. Minato was speechless, but he didn't take it seriously. Instead, he asked, how do you get these points? Host, as long as you sign in on a person every day, or sign in at a place, you can get points. The system elf slowly explained to Minato. Before Minato spoke, the system elf said again, you can get 5 points for signing in on a person once, and 10 points for triggering a critical hit. The points you get from signing in at a location and signing in at a person are the same. Minato felt that this was okay. It's not bad to be able to catch a bug this way. Minato smiled. At this time, the system's voice sounded, host, please don't daydream. Bugs can be caught, but the rewards you get each time will be reduced. And remind the host that the stronger the person who is signed in, the easier it is to trigger a critical hit reward. Minato nodded when he heard this, and he was not disappointed. After all, the system also said that there would be new functions later. Maybe there will be a function of traveling through time and space. The system signs in on Uzumaki Naruto. Namikaze Minato's faint voice sounded. Ding, sign in successfully and get the critical hit reward and get the ghost path of the world of death. Minato was delighted when he heard the pleasant voice of the system, and his eyes flashed with unknown brilliance when he looked at his cheap son unconsciously. He thought to himself, the ghost path of the world of death. This his strength has become stronger by more than a little bit. Is it detected that the sign-in character has signed in? Just as Minato was thinking secretly in his heart, the mechanical sound of the system came again. Sign in, Minato said directly without hesitation. Congratulations to the host for signing in and successfully obtaining the lightning attribute chakra. As the system prompt sounded, Minato felt that a huge amount of knowledge was passed into his mind. This is the use skills and methods of Ghost Way and the chanting spell. Then a strange chakra attribute appeared in his body. The original chakra attribute of his own had wind and earth chakra attributes. It is well known that the number of chakra attributes determines the number of ninjutsu that a ninja can learn. For example, if there is fire attribute chakra, you can learn fire escape ninjutsu. Then Minato looked at Kakashi and said, let your other 2 students come in. Kakashi nodded and walked out. Seeing Uchiha Sasuke and Haruno Sakura still waiting outside, he said that the 4th generation Hokage wanted to see you too, so go in. Quote. Kakashi felt confused and didn't know why Minato wanted to see Uchiha Sasuke and Haruno Sakura. At this time, the door was pushed open and a boy and a girl about 13 years old walked in. After they came in, they first looked nervously at Namikaze Minato who was sitting in the Hokage's seat. Then they looked at Uzumaki Naruto. The 2 looked at Uzumaki Naruto with complicated feelings. Obviously, the conversation just now was heard by the 2. Uchiha Sasuke didn't expect that the 4th generation Hokage was Uzumaki Naruto's father. Haruno Sakura was also shocked. The father she despised was actually the 4th generation Hokage. Minato looked at the 2 and smiled gently, don't be nervous. I called you here this time because I have something to ask you. Uchiha Sasuke's heart was slightly calmed down when he saw this. At this time, Uzumaki Naruto said, Sasuke Sakura, don't be nervous. My father is the 4th generation Hokage. Minato's mouth twitched slightly when he heard this, and he thought to himself, this kid is really a tiger. You won't tell others in the future. My father is the 4th Hokage. Minato hurriedly said, okay Naruto. Naruto nodded slightly and stopped talking. At this time, the system's voice also sounded. Ding! Congratulations to the host for signing in successfully, obtaining a 1 Magatama Sharingan and Fire Attribute Chakra. The cold mechanical sound of the system sounded. Suddenly, Namikaze Minato felt a stinging pain in his eyes, which slowly disappeared after a while, and at the same time, a force flowed through his body. Minato knew that this was the Fire Attribute Chakra he had obtained from Uchiha Sasuke, and all these rewards were better than nothing. What's the use of a 1 Magatama Sharingan? Minato secretly complained. At this time, the voice of the system sounded again. Congratulations to the host for signing in Uzumaki Naruto, triggering the critical hit reward to get 10 points. Signing into Uchiha Sasuke gets 5 points, and you get 5 points for signing in once. In the system mall, a 1 Magatama Sharingan only costs 2 points, and a 2 Magatama Sharingan only has 5 points. If you want to change, you have to change to skills or bloodlines from other worlds. Because there were several people present, Minato did not show the Sharingan he had obtained, so as not to cause unnecessary trouble. Minato saw that the rewards he had obtained from the two were almost the same, so he let Uchiha Sasuke and Haruno Sakura go out. After all, there was nothing to sign in on Sakura, and the system did not give any prompts to sign in. As the only 2 male protagonists in the Naruto anime, Uchiha Sasuke's rewards were a bit too bad, and then he looked at Uzumaki Naruto on the side. His eyes lit up. How could I forget that my cheap son still had a 9-tailed demon fox sealed in his body? This guy must be able to get a good reward. Uzumaki Naruto seemed to have noticed that someone was looking at him. He turned around and saw that his father was looking at him. He also smiled at Minato and said, "What's wrong, Dad?" Minato smiled and shook his head, indicating that it was nothing. Then he looked at Naruto and said, "By the way, Naruto, do you want to know why you are called a demon fox?" Looking at Minato, he said, "Dad, I want to know why. Although I heard from Kakashi that there is a 9-tailed demon fox sealed in my body before I met you, I still want to see it with my own eyes." Minato saw Naruto's somewhat childish face and his firm eyes, put his palm on Naruto's shoulder, and the two of them entered the sealed space directly. As soon as they arrived at the sealed space, the two opened their eyes and saw themselves in a corridor full of stagnant water, with dim lights shining above their heads. Even though Minato Namikaze had seen the environment inside the sealed space in anime in his previous life, I couldn't help but be shocked by the scene in front of me, because the environment was so bad. If anyone was sealed in a dark, damp and ghost place, they would not feel good. When I read the Naruto fan fiction in my previous life, I saw from other novels that some said that this environment was caused by the 9-tailed fox. Now it seems that this is nonsense, but Minato didn't know what was going on, and the two walked forward side by side. Not long after, I saw a big door on the side, in which a huge orange cat was sealed. Oh, no, it was a fox. Seeing Minato Namikaze and Naruto Uzumaki, the 9-tailed fox opened its pair of red vertical pupils as big as lanterns. The pair of lantern-sized eyes stared at the blonde young man in front of him, and a powerful chakra burst out forcefully. Seeing this, Minato took a step forward, and the same powerful chakra collided with the red chakra of the 9-tailed fox. The 9 tails spoke human words from its huge mouth, and looked at Minato Namikaze and said, "Are you a human or a ghost? Didn't you die in my hands more than 10 years ago?" Looking at the 9 tails in front of him, Minato did not answer the 9 tails question, but said, "9 tails, I came here today to discuss something with you." The 9 tails was stunned at first, and then asked, "How do you know my name?" Minato smiled and said, "It's all thanks to you. In order to seal you, I divided your chakra into yin and yang, but the other part of you is still sealed in my body and has not woken up. Then I used the 4-symbol seal and the 8-diagram seal to seal you into Naruto's body. After I performed the Shiki Fujin, I also thought I was going to be sealed into the body of the god of death. I didn't expect that I would be saved by the legendary sage of 6 paths. He told me the names of your tailed beasts. Kyuubi's eyes flashed with nostalgia when he heard this, and then he asked, Minato, tell me what you want to see me for. Minato didn't say much nonsense when he heard this, and directly stated the purpose of his trip. Kyuubi heard the conditions mentioned by Minato and laughed, you are really ridiculous. Do you think I am so stupid? You said that the old man resurrected you, that's right. Do you think I'm stupid? Although I don't know how you resurrected, I know you were definitely not resurrected by the old man. Quote. As for my name, maybe you heard it from other tailed beasts. Minato heard what the 9-tailed beast said, and secretly sighed that he didn't expect this fox to be quite smart. Looking at the 9-tailed beast in front of him, which was as big as a hill, Minato and Uzumaki Naruto walked to the iron gate that sealed the 9-tailed beast. Looking at the 4 symbols seal on it, he said to Uzumaki Naruto beside him, go and tear off the seal on it. The 9-tailed beast in the door saw this scene and couldn't help but sneered, Namikaze Minato, are you going to remove the seal of this uncle? Minato raised his head when he heard the words, looked at the 9-tailed beast in front of him and said, of course, what else do you think? Then just when he was about to tear off the seal, a hand suddenly grabbed Naruto's hand that was tearing off the seal. A familiar and gentle voice sounded, Naruto can't tear the seal, the 9-tailed beast will run out. Naruto saw someone grabbing his hand, looked up and shouted, Dad, then shook off Chakra Minato and grabbed his hand. Nothing will happen with me here, Minato's voice sounded faintly. Chakra Minato turned his head to look next to Naruto, and saw a person who looked exactly like himself standing next to him. Minato noticed Chakra Minato's puzzled look. He explained, you also saw that I am you were just my chakra, but now I am resurrected. Then he looked at Naruto, who got a signal from Namikaze Minato and reached out to grab the seal, wanting to unlock it. Chakra Minato was about to stop him, but was stopped by Minato. He said, do you know how Naruto has been doing in the past 12 years? Quote. The villagers all called him a demon fox, and now he just wants to gain power, so do you still want to stop him? Chakra Minato heard this and struggled for a while but still argued, the 9 tails will still run out like this, and the 9 tails will destroy the village. Minato was very disappointed with Chakra Minato when he heard this, and looked at Chakra Minato and said, between the village and Naruto, did you still choose the village? Then Minato directly attacked and dispersed them. The reason why Minato stopped persuading and chose to attack directly was because in the original work, Minato was a qualified Hokage, but not a qualified husband and father. He didn't understand such a simple truth that a village can only exist after a family. Uzumaki Naruto watched his father break up Chakra Daddy, and his heart was calm. Although he didn't like killing, he didn't like to make enemies. But I also long for powerful strength. I hope to be recognized by the villagers. When I grow up, I will become a man who can become a Hokage. Chakra Daddy actually prevented me from gaining powerful strength. He is just the chakra left by my father 12 years ago, and my father has been resurrected now. Then Uzumaki Naruto removed the seal of the 9 tails, and the violent chakra of the 9 tails rushed out, almost condensing into substance. Seeing this, Minato took a step forward, and a huge amount of chakra also rushed into the sky, and the golden chakra and the dark red chakra collided with each other. Naruto, who was standing by, looked at the figure standing in front of him, and his heart was slightly warmed. He murmured in his heart, is this the back of my father? The chakra of his father alone was comparable to that of the 9 tails. The 9 tails was very shocked that Minato Namikaze could actually offset 60% of his chakra. You know, although it is not his heyday now, he is much stronger than the other tailed beasts. After all, when I divided the chakra, I gave myself a lot more. Now the other half of my power is sealed in the body of Minato Namikaze. Hasn't this guy died all these years? Why is the strength still improved so much? I guess the 9 tails will never know until his death that this Minato is no longer the Minato of the past. This is the Minato who travels through the system. Minato felt the amount of chakra of the 9 tails and was calm. It can only be said that the 9 tails is worthy of being a tailed beast. This amount of chakra can only be compared with the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama. If I hadn't signed in at that time to get double the amount of chakra, I really wouldn't have had as much chakra as the 9 tails. Minato also knew that although his chakra amount did not increase much after gaining spiritual pressure, there was a substantial change. Chakra seemed to suppress the enemy's soul. Looking at the 9-tailed fox in front of him, Minato said lightly, "Really good chakra." Hearing Minato say this, he was furious and couldn't help cursing, "You guy." At the same time, the huge fox claws slapped Minato, followed by a puff of smoke. Seeing this, the 9-tailed fox's huge pupils shrank slightly. This was a substitute technique. The 9-tailed fox hurriedly looked around to find the figures of Minato Namikaze and Naruto Uzumaki. Just when the 9-tailed fox was still looking around for Minato Namikaze, Minato's teasing voice came from above, "9-tailed fox, have you become stupid after not seeing you for so many years?" The 9-tailed fox heard the voice from above, and the huge fox head was about to raise its head, and heard Minato speak indifferently, "Did I ask you to raise your head?" Quote. Minato's cold voice stimulated Kyuubi's nerves crazily. Then Kyuubi was about to shake his head to throw off Minato Namikaze and Naruto Uzumaki on top of him, but before he could make any move, Minato took the lead and stepped heavily on Kyuubi's head. Kyuubi's huge head was stepped on by Minato and fell directly to the ground, making a deafening noise. At this time, 9 golden chains locked Kyuubi tightly. Minato was puzzled when he saw this. Suddenly, he remembered that when he watched anime in his previous life, it seemed that there was not only his own chakra left here, but also Kushina Uzumaki's chakra. If nothing unexpected happened, the chakra chain just now should be the attack from Kushina Uzumaki. At this time, Minato turned his head and saw a woman with red shoulder-length hair and waist-length hair slowly walking over. The woman looked about 20 years old, and her body looked a little illusory, which should be caused by insufficient chakra. When he walked in front of the two, Minato realized that the facial features of the woman in front of him exquisite and beautiful, with a pair of bright eyes, she looks lively and romantic. She wears a white short-sleeved t-shirt under her snow-white neck, and a light green long skirt outside, which sets off her curvy figure. Minato was stunned for a moment when he looked at Uzumaki Kushina. He knew that Uzumaki Kushina was very beautiful in the anime, but he didn't know that after he traveled through time, he saw that the real Uzumaki Kushina was even more beautiful than the anime. Uzumaki Kushina smiled slightly after seeing the two of them, and then said to the struggling 9 tails, "Don't call you a stupid fox." Then she looked at Naruto with a soft look. Naruto felt the other's gaze, and was stunned for a moment, then said to Kushina, "You are so beautiful, big sister." He showed a carefree smile. Uzumaki Kushina was stunned at first, and then a beautiful smile appeared on her exquisite and beautiful face. Minato behind her did not go up to interrupt the conversation between the two. After all, the mother and son will recognize each other later. Kushina continued, "Naruto, you can call me sister, because I am your mother." Naruto was slightly stunned when he heard this, and then stared at Uzumaki Kushina in front of him with his azure eyes, and asked nervously, "Are you really my mother?" Uzumaki Kushina was very confused, but still nodded to confirm. This is when Uzumaki Naruto turned his head to look at Namikaze Minato behind him, wanting to confirm it. After all, he first knew today that his father was the 4th-generation Hokage of Konoha, Namikaze Minato. And his father was resurrected and could be with him, and now he saw his mother in the sealed space again. All this seemed so unreal. Namikaze Minato saw Uzumaki Naruto's eyes fall on him, and a warm smile appeared on his face and he nodded slowly. At this time, Uzumaki Kushina in front of Uzumaki Naruto looked behind Naruto and saw Minato smiling at Minato, who smiled back after seeing it. At this time, Uzumaki Naruto couldn't hold back the tears anymore and threw himself into Kushina Uzumaki's arms. His tears soaked the clothes on Kushina Uzumaki's chest. Kushina Uzumaki also hugged Naruto tightly. After a while, the two separated. Then Naruto began to tell Kushina about his experiences over the years, how the villagers treated him, and how the 3rd Hokage gave him 1,000 taels of living expenses every month. Kushina Uzumaki gradually frowned. She thought about it and said, "My son still needs the help of the 3rd Hokage." She and Minato had a big yard, and they had done so many A-level tasks, and even S-level tasks were not rare. The rewards for these tasks alone were more than 10 million, which was the property left by Minato and himself to their son. With so much property, they would not be rich, but at least they would not have to worry about food and drink. Thinking of this, Kushina Uzumaki looked at her son with her beautiful eyes and continued, "Son, tell your mother where you live." Quote. Uzumaki Naruto heard his mother's question, although he didn't know what it meant, but he still answered honestly, "I live in a simple wooden house." Uzumaki Kushina couldn't help it anymore, her long red hair flying. Quote. Roared loudly, "Third generation old man. You fool, I sealed the 9 tails for Konoha. I sealed the 9 tails for Konoha, and finally died at the hands of the 9 tails with Minato. I also followed Minato's advice and sealed the 9 tails in my newborn child, in order to leave a hidden strength for Konoha. What happened? Not only did my son not become the son of a hero or the son of a Hokage, but he was also called a demon fox by the civilians of Konoha." Thinking of this, Uzumaki Kushina's nose was sore and she went up to hug Uzumaki Naruto in her arms. She choked up and said, "Naruto, Mom is sorry for you. Mom shouldn't have left you like this back then, but Mom is dead. Now the chakra left in the sealed space is almost exhausted. It will disappear soon. Your father's chakra is about to disappear." Naruto was slightly stunned when he heard this, and then broke free from Uzumaki Kushina's arms and said, "No. Dad has been resurrected. It was Dad who brought me into the sealed space. He said he would bring me powerful power." Uzumaki Kushina heard this, her beautiful eyes widened slightly, and then an incredible voice came out of her mouth. "You said your father was resurrected, how is this possible?" At this time, Namikaze Minato came over and asked softly, "Kushina, are you okay?" Kushina couldn't help it anymore when she heard this, and threw herself directly into Namikaze Minato's arms. Minato slowly hugged the woman in his arms, feeling a little unreal. That's right. After all, it's just chakra and a small amount of soul. Then Uzumaki Kushina raised her head. The beautiful face was charming. Then Uzumaki Kushina said to Namikaze Minato, "Take good care of Naruto, and make sure that old man Sandai has a bad death." At this point, Uzumaki Kushina's beautiful face showed a trace of anger. Uzumaki Kushina thought in her heart, there are also those Konoha high-ranking officials. Uzumaki Kushina knew that the reason why she and Minato died on the night of the Nine Tails Rebellion was not only because of the masked man, but also because of the Konoha village high-ranking officials. They didn't want them to live at all. The old man Sandai just wanted to regain power. There is no need to mention the root organization. Shimura Danzo is an ambitious man, and the root organization is his private army, only obeying the orders of the root leader Danzo Shimura. As for other ninja families, Kushina Uzumaki of the Uchiha clan also guessed a rough idea. It is estimated that they were under house arrest and were not allowed to go out. This also puzzled Kushina Uzumaki. Your Uchiha clan is at least the founder of Konoha village and a large clan on par with the Senju clan. Isn't it your top priority to protect Konoha? Anyway, no matter what, I have to seek justice for my son. She also believed that Minato Namikaze had already seen this, and it was just a responsibility to the village. Hearing Kushina say that she wanted to seek justice for herself, Naruto smiled and said, "No need, Mom, now Dad has been resurrected and has become the 4th generation Hokage of Konoha again." Then Minato told how he came out and how he was resurrected. Of course, he didn't say anything about the system and spiritual pressure. At this time, Kushina Uzumaki looked at Minato with a pair of beautiful eyes curiously, puzzled, "You really resurrected?" Quote. Minato Namikaze looked at Kushina Uzumaki's cute appearance and said, "Of course it's true." Kushina Uzumaki nodded, and then her eyes dimmed as if she had thought of something, and she said slowly, "But my chakra is about to disappear, and I'm afraid I won't be able to see it again." Minato said indifferently, "What's the difficulty? As long as there is a constant supply of chakra, it will be fine." Right. Kushina Uzumaki's bright eyes flickered slightly when she heard the words, and the two of them tacitly put their eyes on the 9 tails. The 9 tails noticed the wolf-like eyes of the two. "I couldn't help but tremble all over, and cursed at the two of them. I couldn't help but curse at the two of them, two fools." Then the two walked side by side towards the 9 tails. Seeing the two walking towards him, a trace of fear flashed in the 9 tails' eyes. The two stopped, and Minato said to Uzumaki Naruto on the side, "Take your mother to wait aside." Naruto nodded slightly when he saw this, and pulled Kushina to walk away. Kushina was slightly stunned when she saw this, and then reacted and said, "Do you need my help?" Uzumaki Naruto smiled and said, "Dad is very strong, that big fox must be my father's opponent." Although Naruto didn't know how strong his father was, he was able to defeat the third Hokage, who couldn't be defeated by Orochimaru. His father must be very strong, right? After all, the third Hokage is the strongest Hokage. Naruto thought so in his heart. Uzumaki Kushina wanted to say something else, but was interrupted by Minato. A powerful and gentle chakra wrapped the two and sent them far away. Uzumaki Kushina was slightly shocked when she saw what Minato Namikaze did. She thought unconsciously, how much chakra is needed to do this? Uzumaki Kushina knew that Minato Namikaze was very strong. But he couldn't suppress the 9 tails by himself, otherwise the two wouldn't have died because of sealing the 9 tails. What's more, Minato died in these years. How could he be so strong? Uzumaki Kushina kept thinking in her heart. At this time, due to the distance of Uzumaki Kushina, the chakra chain that bound the 9 tails also slowly disappeared. Quote. Then the 9 tails' huge palm slapped towards Minato, who dodged the 9 tails' huge claws. Seeing this, the 9 tails fired a hollow dog cannon in the direction of Uzumaki Naruto. Seeing this, Namikaze Minato rushed to help with a Rasengan, and defeated the hollow dog cannon. Then, Uzumaki Kushina's voice sounded. "Minato, be careful." Quote. The 9 tails opened its bloody mouth, and a huge amount of chakra condensed in its mouth. Minato's face showed a hint of excitement. "I haven't used the ghost way since I got the world of death." Then the huge-tailed beast ball flew towards this side. Seeing this scene, Uzumaki Kushina couldn't help but close her eyes, unable to bear to see Minato being blown to death. Minato stretched out a powerful palm and recited the 81st slash of Binding Path. Then a white barrier rose into the sky, and at this time, the 9 tails tailed beast ball collided with the slash, making a deafening sound. At this time, Uzumaki Kushina and Naruto behind him stared blankly. After a while, Uzumaki Naruto reacted and kept cheering. "Awesome, Dad is really awesome." Dad's move actually blocked the 9 tails attack. Uzumaki Kushina was also awakened by Naruto's cheers. "Minato has become so strong." She couldn't help but praise. "What you just casually performed was a one-hit unprinted ninjutsu." Then Minato said, "9 tails, is this all you can do? If so, it's time to end it." 9 tails was furious when he heard this, and saw Namikaze. Minato turned around and said as he walked. "Hard path 90 black coffins." Black and purple energy rose around 9 tails' body, and 9 tails even felt that he couldn't move, and couldn't help but roar. This attack made him, the leader of the tailed beasts, feel the danger. Soon, the 9 tails was covered by a black coffin several dozen meters long. After a few breaths, the 9 tails figure appeared from it. It was as big as a mountain and fell heavily to the ground, gasping for breath. Seeing this, Uzumaki Kushina on the side looked at Minato in front of him with a pair of beautiful eyes and asked, "Is this really a ninjutsu? This power is too strong." Looking at Uzumaki Kushina, Minato smiled calmly and said, "Of course." At this time, he called the two to walk towards the 9 tails. The 61 binding method, 6-foot light prison. 6 huge pieces of light bound the 9 tails tightly. At this time, Minato walked in front of the 9 tails and pressed one hand on the 9 tails' head. Quote. The seal suddenly released, and the palm of the hand slightly pulled outward, and a red chakra was thrown into Uzumaki Kushina's body. Uzumaki Kushina's illusory body also became solid, and another chakra was thrown into Uzumaki Naruto's body. With the infusion of chakra, Uzumaki Naruto's aura became stronger and stronger, and his body was also wrapped in a layer of golden red chakra. Uzumaki Kushina, who was standing by, saw this and her beautiful eyes were full of envy. Minato also saw Uzumaki Kushina's expression and said to her, "I will give you stronger power after you are resurrected." Uzumaki Kushina asked excitedly, "Can I be resurrected too?" Minato nodded, and Uzumaki Kushina jumped up happily after getting a positive answer. Then Minato walked to the 9 tails who was lying on the ground and said, You will not suffer any loss if the Nine Tails lends its power to Naruto, and you don't want to be controlled by Uchiha Madara in the future. The Nine Tails' huge red animal pupils shrank slightly when they heard this, and then they said tremblingly, "What did you say?" Quote. Minato smiled and said, "I said Uchiha Madara is not dead yet." Then he continued, "Kushina's chakra supply is left to you, no problem." Kyuubi trembled and said, "No problem." Minato nodded and continued, "Kyuubi, I am not a capitalist who only knows how to exploit. When the time comes, I can let you out and give you freedom." Minato painted a big pie for the Nine-Tailed. Kyuubi nodded hurriedly when he heard the word freedom, and said excitedly, "Are you telling the truth? Did you lie to me?" Minato was happy when he heard the words. This Nine-Tailed is really a real person. At this time, the clear and pleasant voice of the system elf sounded, "Do you sign in when you find a sign in target?" Minato was delighted when he heard the clear and pleasant voice of the system elf. "Do you need to ask this?" "Of course I signed in." The system signed in. Ding! Congratulations to the host for signing in successfully and getting a special reward. The system's somewhat mechanical electronic synthesized sound sounded. "What special reward?" Minato asked with some doubt. A humanoid card appeared in Minato's hand. "Do you want to use it?" The system's mechanical voice sounded again. "Not for the time being." Minato thought, "I don't know what this thing is." "Don't panic, let's talk about it after we get out of the system space in Naruto's body." Then Uzumaki Kushina said, "Kushina, I'm leaving, goodbye." Naruto saw this and hurriedly said goodbye to Uzumaki Kushina. "Mom, goodbye, I'll come to see you when I have time." The nine-tailed beast lying on the side pouted and muttered softly, "Ah, if it weren't for my chakra, Uzumaki Kushina would have disappeared long ago." But when the nine-tailed beast thought of the strength of Namikaze Minato, he was a little scared. No, this is not called being scared, this is called following the heart. At the same time, he didn't want to fall under the control of Uchiha Madara again. After saying that, Uzumaki Kushina also disappeared and fell into a deep sleep again. Seeing this, Minato and Uzumaki Naruto left the sealed space at the same time. They opened their eyes at the same time and returned to the Hokage's office. At this time, Uchiha Sasuke and Haruno Sakura saw the two open their eyes and asked hurriedly, "Fourth Hokage, what happened to you just now?" "Oh, nothing, just went to see a friend." "All right, you all go back." Minato waved his hand perfunctorily, he didn't have time to chat with them here. The three of them retreated after hearing this. After watching the three people retreat, Minato retracted his gaze, the smile on his face gradually disappeared, and his eyes became indifferent and ruthless. "By the way, what is the system's special reward?" Congratulations to the host for using the special reward and obtaining the Dragon Ball World's magic skill, 10 times Kaio Fist without side effects. The system's emotionless voice sounded again. Minato was very surprised when he heard this. Wow, they are still playing some tricks. This is simply a critical hit reward. But did they change the name? Minato didn't care. After all, if it weren't for the system, he wouldn't be able to revive, let alone gain such a powerful force. 10 times the Kaioken with no side effects is an invincible skill in the Naruto world. It can instantly increase his chakra 10 times and his strength 10 times, an all-round improvement. I feel that my current strength has definitely reached the peak of the Super Shadow. After all, I have the spiritual pressure of the Super Captain. There is also the oldest heat-type Zanpakuto, the Blade Jaka. Once this thing is turned on, I guess Otsutsuki will have to kneel down and call him daddy. Namikaze Minato's eyes flickered slightly, and he made a self-talking voice. The next goal is to clean up the root organization. Shimura Danzo is a borer of Konoha village, the darkness of the ninja world. Konoha's Hokage, the first generation of Nabe Cage, the one-eyed bandage man, the sun brother, etc. This guy can be said to be the one with the most titles in Konoha. Compared with titles, even the ninja gods Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara only have one title. This time, Orochimaru's Konoha collapse plan did not see any of the root supporters. Did they all go to play mahjong? This time, I must find Shimura Danzo to make trouble for him. I just said that I was going to the root to make trouble, but this person hasn't gone yet. The ninjas of the root have come to me, and the ninjas around me haven't dispersed yet. These guys have different masks from the previous Ambu. The masks of the Anbu are just in the shape of animals, and the masks worn by these guys have animals, and even some masks are smeared with paint. These guys are ninjas of the root, they are really worthy of being named Cage. Minato muttered as he looked at the guys in front of him. Minato's eyes flashed with a cold light, and he walked out of the Hokage's office. As soon as he got outside, he saw the 7th team outside and said to him, "Let's go." As soon as he finished speaking, Minato Namikaze disappeared in front of several people. Kakashi saw this and put away the pornographic book in his hand, and said to the 3 people, "Let's go. Let's go outside and see if there is any new situation." The 3 of them looked at each other and ran outside. The appearance of these guys made the busy Anbu ninjas slightly stunned, and they all looked over in surprise. Kakashi, who had just arrived here, frowned, and was obviously thinking, wondering why the ninjas of the root would appear here. Because the ninjas of the root are directly under the command of Shimura Danzo, even the 3rd generation Hokage cannot order them. It can be said that it is the private army of the root leader Shimura Danzo. However, when Orochimaru attacked Konoha, he did not take action, nor did he send any root ninjas. Now the large number of root ninjas obviously came for their teacher Namikaze Minato. Thinking of this, Kakashi reached into the ninja tool bag with his left hand. As long as they dared to attack their teacher, it's okay to kill these guys myself. Although I may not be able to beat them. The 3rd Hokage is now seriously injured and in the hospital, and he can't care about Minato at all. There was a person who originally stood in front of Minato. The root was ordered by Shimura Danzo. Shimura Danzo and the 3rd Hokage were not only classmates. He was also a disciple of the 2nd Hokage and a longtime friend of the 3rd Hokage. It can be said that his prestige in Konoha is not lower than that of the 3rd Hokage. If Danzo appeared, he would definitely be able to fight against the current Namikaze Minato on equal terms. In this way, Namikaze Minato's situation is not very good, but Kaka doesn't know that the Namikaze Minato he is worried about is not afraid even if Uchiha Madara is in front of him, let alone a mere Shimura Danzo. "What, you want to stop me?" Quote. Minato Namikaze looked at the root ninjas in front of him. These people dared to block his way in sight. It must be said that Shimura Danzo was really a little stupid. He dared to send people to cause trouble without knowing the strength of his opponent. At this time, one of the root ninjas stepped forward and said, "Minato Namikaze, Danzo, please go to the root." Minato Namikaze frowned when he heard it, and then looked at the root ninjas and said, "Danzo asked you to take me there." Quote. Yes, the leading root ninja had no emotion in his words, as if there was no problem with his words. Minato Namikaze suddenly laughed, and this laughter made everyone present confused. After a few breaths, the laughter gradually disappeared, and Minato's eyes became extremely cold and his mouth made an indifferent voice. "You really don't know how to live or die." Quote. As soon as the voice fell, the leading root ninja instantly fell to the ground, holding his neck. Slowly, a red blood mark appeared on the neck of the root ninja, and hot blood slowly flowed out. The following root ninjas killed Namikaze Minato with expressionless faces. Seeing this, Minato smiled helplessly and turned to rush towards them. In just a blink of an eye, several root ninjas fell to the ground and didn't know whether they were dead or alive. These root ninjas didn't know why Namikaze Minato dared to kill them so decisively until they died, but they forgot one thing: Minato was still the Hokage of Konoha, and they openly provoked the fire. This is a death in vain. This scene made the ninjas present couldn't help but think of a sentence: the golden flash that cuts through the darkness of the ninja world can even travel through time and space. Quote. At this moment, everyone seemed to understand the meaning of this sentence, and also understood why this sentence was written in the textbook of the ninja world, because it was so fast that it was impossible to see. Is this the strength of the golden flash Namikaze Minato? Some people couldn't help but sigh. Using the Flying Thunder God vertical style and kunai, dozens of the elite jonins of the root were killed instantly. You know, let alone dozens of elite jonins, even 3 elite jonins can hold back a cage-level strongman. He turned around and sucked the Flying Thunder God kunai, and all of them were in Minato's hands in an instant. These Flying Thunder God kunai were all his things, and he would still need them in the future. They were just some jonins of the root. It seemed that Danzo really thought he was easy to bully. By the way, let's go to the root and see what we can get, but let's take a look at the system mall first. After opening the system mall, he saw the points in the mall. He had signed in on Naruto to get a critical hit reward of 10 points, and signed in on Kakashi to get 5 points. He got 5 points from Uchiha Sasuke and 10 points from the Nine Tails to get a critical hit reward. Now the total points are only 30 points. Looking at the rewards in the system mall, Namikaze Minato felt helpless. The 2 Magatama Sharingan in the system store only needs 5 points, the Mangekyo Sharingan only needs 30 points, and the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan still needs 10 points. It is obviously not as cost-effective to exchange the Mangekyo Sharingan as the Eternal Eye. If you use it too much, your eyes will go blind. If you want to change it, you should change it to the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, or to the ability of the other world. After all, the system spirit has said that the system store may be upgraded and updated from time to time. Maybe there will be better things in it. After all, I have received a lot of rewards that surpass the system store just by crit sign in. Just when Minato Namikaze was still looking at the system store and thinking, a voice came, interrupting Minato, who was thinking. Turning around, I saw Kakashi and asked, "What's wrong?" Kakashi looked at Minato and said, "These ninjas are all from the root. It's okay for you to kill them like this. What can this be? They are just a group of tools," Minato said disdainfully. Kakashi suddenly looked at Minato and said, "Teacher, I don't know what I can do for you now." Minato turned his head and stared at Kakashi seriously when he heard what Kakashi said, and suddenly smiled and patted his shoulder. "But if you want to help me, practice hard. Make yourself stronger. I believe you can, because you are my most proud disciple," Minato said to Kakashi, and then turned and disappeared. In another dark and humid underground base, an old man over 50 years old sat in the first chair, with his upper body wrapped in bandages and his one eye that had been left outside, showing a cold light. This one is the leader of the root, the Sun Brother Shimura Danzo. At this time, a ninja of the root walked into the base below and glanced at the old man sitting in the upper position. Reporting to the root ninjas sent by Danzo, all were killed by Namikaze Minato. Quote. Danzo stood up from his seat when he heard that. "You said that all 7 or 8 of you elite root ninjas were killed by Minato Namikaze. How dare he do that?" At this time, Yamanaka Fung on the side hurriedly said, "Danzo, please calm down and listen to what they said first." At this time, Danzo gradually recovered. Quote. He slowly said, "What did you say?" The root ninja slowly said, "Let's talk about Minato Namikaze. Danzo asked you to go see him." Danzo frowned and continued, "Minato Namikaze attacked Ouija later. Then several root ninjas present rushed towards Minato Namikaze. A golden light flashed, and 7 or 8 root ninjas fell down." Danzo was furious when he heard that. "You are a bunch of idiots, are you idiots?" Even Orochimaru was forced away by Minato Namikaze. This time, he originally wanted to ask Minato Namikaze to support him as the 5th generation Hokage. As a result, he was not invited by this group of subordinates, and he was offended by them. Danzo was just insidious, not stupid. He had been watching the fight between Orochimaru and Minato Namikaze from the side. Now he was sure that he might not be able to beat Minato Namikaze. Minato Namikaze came to the courtyard where he and Kushina lived before. No one had lived here for a long time. The courtyard was full of weeds. Seeing this, Minato Namikaze formed seals with both hands and performed the shadow clone technique. Quote. Dozens of shadow clones appeared, some cleaned the weeds in the courtyard, and some cleaned the dust in the courtyard. Minato Namikaze came directly to the living room and couldn't help sighing when he saw the familiar decorations inside. Time has really changed. Everything has changed in the blink of an eye. I came to my and Kushina's room and looked at the whirlpool above. Kushina and I couldn't help but be slightly stunned. Soon, Minato Namikaze had finished everything. As soon as he walked out of the door, he was slightly stunned. "I want to buy ingredients but I have no money." Minato stretched out a hand and rubbed his swollen head, and said helplessly, "It's really a rich man, it's hard to be a man without money." "Forget it, go out and get some game first." Soon Minato came back with 3 fish and 3 hares in his hand, cast a small fireball to set up the fire, and skewered the fish and hares with wooden sticks and roasted them on the fire. Just when Minato Namikaze was roasting food happily, the system upgrade sounded. "Ding, found a place to sign in, do you want to sign in?" Minato said happily in his heart. Sign in. Ding, sign in successfully triggers a critical reward to get a mysterious gift. Do you want to use it? Quote. Minato's mouth twitched slightly when he heard this. This system is really weird. It plays tricks all day long, and it also has a sense of ritual in life. He silently thought in his heart, and saw a burst of light, and then the light dissipated, and then he saw a girl with short black hair and a haggard face, wearing a white prison uniform, muttering, "Where is this? Am I going to die?" When Minato saw this, the fish in his hand fell to the ground. He stared at the girl in front of him and said to the system, "What is going on?" The system's voice came faintly. "This is a special card and I don't know what's inside." At this time, Minato looked at the girl in front of him and said slowly, "Are you okay?" This girl is none other than Rukia Kuchiki, who is in the world of death. I don't know how this system got her into the world of Naruto. The girl slowly opened her eyes, looked at Minato with a pair of purple beautiful eyes and said, "You are brother Minato." Rukia, who was wearing a white prison uniform, had tears in her purple beautiful eyes. She threw herself into Minato's arms. Minato didn't know what to do when he saw this, and hurriedly asked the system, "What the hell is going on?" The system elf pouted and said, "I gave you a beautiful girl as your wife, and you are not happy. I am a married man," Minato argued. Quote. The system elf said with disdain, "Your wife is not a virgin. Besides, she is the wife of your previous life. You two are not of the same soul. You both have a 12-year-old son. The one I gave you is a beautiful girl with a perfect body. You don't want her, right? If you don't want her, I will send her back." Minato said quickly. "Don't send her. Can't I take her?" Minato continued. "What I want to ask is why she called me brother Minato. Of course I did it. I modified her memory. In her memory, you two were very good friends in the world of death." The system said proudly. "You can even entrust your life to her." Minato was sweating profusely when he heard it. This system is too perverted. It's just driving at the slightest disagreement. In the system's narration, Minato knew that this false memory was the past of himself and Rukia Kuchiki in the world of death. Minato looked at the petite and cute Rukia in front of him, and reached out to pat the girl's slightly trembling back. Obviously, she was not as calm as she seemed when facing real death. Then Minato asked the system, "That system, is there a character panel for Rukia Kuchiki?" At this time, the crisp and pleasant voice of the system elf sounded. "Of course there is some for Hyoka." The system's panel gradually changed and slowly formed a character panel. Character: Rukia Kuchiki. Ability: Death God Transformation. Quote. Kido. Mastery. Quote. Battle Spirit Sword Soda Shirayuki. Quote. Mastered Shikai. Quote. Status: Recovering. Quote. Loyalty: 100. Quote. Evaluation: Loyal to the host until death, willing to do anything for the host. Minato fell silent after looking at the evaluation given by the system. In his previous life, he was just a college student. As for the girl who has no money, the girl can see him. After all, he has no money. In a society that values money, women talk about money with people who have no money, and talk about feelings with rich people. Now think about it, it's really ironic. Minato couldn't help thinking in his heart. In his previous life, he had nothing except his parents, but now he has traveled to the world of Naruto and not only has a strong and handsome body, but also a wife and a cheap son. Now the system has sent me another Rukia. To be honest, Minato is not a person who doesn't know how to be grateful. Minato knows that everything he has now is given by the system, so he won't scold his system at every turn. As for the protagonists in the novels I read in my previous life who always scolded their systems as trash and dog systems, Minato just wants to say that without the help of the system, your shitty protagonist Halo is useless. Minato dispersed his thoughts and sank into the system. The system spirit looked at Minato and asked a little puzzled after he came in. "How did you get in?" Minato looked at the system spirit and said, "Thank you, system." The system spirit was stunned at first, and then a relieved smile appeared on his face and said, "Go back." Minato opened his eyes and returned to reality. At first glance, he saw a cute and delicate little face appeared in front of him. A pair of beautiful eyes looked at Minato curiously. Minato looked at Rukia Kuchiki who was still wearing a white prison uniform. I couldn't help but frowned. stretched out my hand and took Rukia's soft and white jade-like hand and walked into the room. Rukia saw this scene, and her beautiful little face flushed. She said shyly, "Brother Minato, if you want, I can serve you." Minato's heart moved slightly when he heard Rukia's words, but he still suppressed the desire in his heart and said, "What are you thinking about? There are clothes inside, change them. I'm a little uncomfortable with the prison uniform you're wearing." Quote. Rukia's cute little face showed a hint of shyness when she heard this, and Minato patted his head with his right hand and quickly closed the door of the room. Rukia also took off her prison uniform when she saw this, revealing her upper body, with bandages wrapped around her chest, making her originally barren chest flat. Soon the door of the room was opened, a little head popped out of the door and saw Minato, then slowly opened the door, and Minato turned around. Seeing what Rukia was wearing now, his eyes lit up slightly, and he looked up and down at Rukia, who was now wearing a white t-shirt on her upper body, a pleated skirt to her knees on her lower body, a pair of white and tender calves tightly wrapped in a pair of white stockings, and a pair of white rabbit cotton slippers on her feet. Finally, his eyes fell on Rukia's chest, because the clothes on her upper body were actually propped up by Rukia. Minato estimated that it was at least B grade, the size of a steamed bun. Rukia on the opposite side saw Minato's eyes fixed on her, and slowly lowered her head, playing with the corners of her clothes with her hands, and then Minato looked at a long bandage placed on the bed behind Rukia. As if he understood something, he said to Rukia with a serious look, "Don't wrap your chest anymore in the future, okay? It's not good for your body development." After that, Minato reached out and took Rukia's hand and walked outside. After the two finished eating grilled fish and grilled hare, Minato was going to the Hokage's office to handle official business. He wanted Rukia to rest at home, but Rukia refused on the grounds that she wanted to understand this world. Quote. Helplessly, Minato could only take Rukia to the Hokage's office, and in the way, Rukia was curious about the shops around her, looking left and right, but Minato was helpless. Because he had just been resurrected and had no money, otherwise he would not have gone to the river to catch fish or rabbits. The poor people of Konoha around greeted Minato after seeing him, "Hello, fourth Hokage." Minato also responded to these civilians one by one. At this time, someone with sharp eyes saw Rukia standing with Minato. I couldn't help but secretly admire Minato. The Hokage is the Hokage. You see, the first thing he did after resurrection was to find himself a little wife, but these words were only dared to be complained in his heart. Some showed Minato a smile that all men understand. Minato was also amused and helpless when he saw the attitude of the Konoha civilians. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.